Reveille.
Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
It's us doing what we love. It's time to bang. Oh, yeah, get out the cranberry, the stuffing, the gravy, maybe a fried turkey. It's Thanksgiving week here on Morning Kombat, Monday, November 25th, 2024, and we give thanks to you, MK Nation. Welcome on into today's episode. My name is the BB, what am I again? I'm an alpha, I'll tell you that much.
Are you?
Yeah, the BBC with that BDE, Luke. How about that? Hey, it's Brian Campbell and Luke Thomas, LT. Welcome to Metal Arc Studios in Manhattan. Welcome to the best damn combat sports show, period.
Thanks, brah.
Yeah. Are you fired up about life, or are you just admiring my one love Bob Marley midlife crisis vacation hat?
Total cost of what you're wearing is 3.5 cents.
Yes,
I mean, really,
yes.
I wouldn't even steal what you have.
That's a great bomber jacket. Too bad people
is.
can't really find it
Yeah,
anymore.
they only exist on me.
Yes,
That's it.
Yes. All right.
BC, I have to give a shout out. I was at one of my favorite places yesterday in DC, getting a
Joseph A. Bank?
That's the only one I got a shit. People always ask me for DC recommendations. Best toilet on M Street, Joseph A. Bank, 19th and M. That's a real place. Okay, no. I was actually getting some late lunch, early dinner yesterday with the wife and the kid. It was great. We go to this place all the time. It's called La Cosecha. It's like a big market.
That sounds very Spanish.
Just means the harvest in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
And this dude came up to me with his, I know it's his significant other. I cannot remember now if it was his wife or girlfriend.
Okay,
but
was she a BBL?
she was a normal person.
Ooh, maybe Ukrainian?
And he came up to me and was like, it took me a little while to work up the courage to come say hi, but big fan. And he told me he bought a BC cameo.
Yes,
That's right. He gave you a little cash.
5-star
He
reviews. Yeah.
was an MK fan, watches the live chat. Just the whole universe here was a big part of it.
Main card minute fan?
He didn't mention that.
Okay.
But I have to say this. I could barely make conversation with him because I was hungover as shit.
Because you're 45
yesterday.
and washed.
I had 3 vodka Gatorades on
boy.
Saturday night, like absolutely white trash piece of shit.
So were you like, who wants a margarita style or what? Were you that
No,
drunk?
not that banged up, but definitely I woke up feeling like, oh.
What's this gentleman's name? We should shout
I
him
believe
out.
his name was Chris.
Oh, nice, Chris.
Chris.
All right,
Chris was very, very friendly. I wanted to make sure. A lot of people come up to me and say hi. Most of them are very cool. Rarely are they with their significant other who also knows anybody from the extended MK universe, and she knew everybody. So they were very cool, and I feel very bad because I could barely make coherent conversation with them because your boy got whooped by Tito's vodka.
Okay, did Tukes like get introduced to?
She doesn't care.
Yeah, she doesn't.
I took her to school. I did a morning radio interview in the city. I took her to school, and they on the radio going like, "Coming up in the next hour, Luke Thomas will be here." And she heard me. She's like, "Daddy, is that you?" I said, "Yes." Then when she came home, I tried to play her the interview. She listened to about 3 seconds before she's like, "Get that shit out my face."
That's it. We want your paycheck. We don't want your shit, though. Get it out of here,
care.
okay? There you go. We got a great show for you today, recapping UFC Macau, by the way, and looking at the fallout of Conor McGregor's trial for sexual assault. Also going to check in on the PFL, which is back this week, Luke. I'm going to be honest with you. Until today, I didn't know that the PFL finals are Friday, the championship.
If you had told me, gun to your head, is there a PFL final? A real gun to my head, I would have had to have wished Tukester and my wife goodbye.
Are you doing the gun to the head joke because it's in Saudi or no?
That's more sword to the back of the neck. But
okay.
Just the same, no, I had no effing clue.
Yes.
For some reason, I thought it was on the same card as Hughes and Nurmagomedov.
No, that's January. Yes.
Right. A lot of Bellator champions quite mad about their inactivity. We'll
get into that today. Also, you wanted to break down this Joe Rogan Ukraine thing, and I was like, I don't want that in our show.
I never said that at all. In fact, I don't want to talk about it even a little.
Good. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about DMs and other weird stuff. All right, I just want to talk about fights, okay? All right, that's the only thing I'm into at the end of the day. Not saucy details between exes.
You sure about that?
Yeah, we have, like I mentioned, a great show for you. You can follow us, by the way, on the social handles below. Not just at Morning Kombat on all socials, but our respective YouTube accounts, which stay populated with fresh content Also, we have a third member of the team, our producer, director, and resident betting and bong degenerate, Luke of Long Island fame, Nosita from the Main Card Minute. Long Island, how are you?
I'm doing good, guys. How are we?
Old.
Yeah.
Do you know Long Island Luke had a 6 a.m. live start to his Main Card Minute pod on Saturday? 6 a.m.
Just got nothing going on in his life.
I, woke up at 5 a.m. just in time for that Ming Shi head kick. That was pretty sick.
That was nice.
That was great.
And then, we watched the main card. We had a good time. I'll be live for PFL Friday, too.
How'd your betting go?
Not great, Luke. I don't want to talk about it. Thank you, though.
Well, no.
No, you got to take the L's.
No, we didn't do good. Wang Tong definitely ruined my parlay.
That was a bad one.
Volkan Ozdemir looked okay against Carlos Ulberg. Definitely didn't win that fight, though.
Right.
And I had Figgy as well. I scored that fight 5-0 Yan as well as the judges, but it was close on some people's scorecards going into the fifth, so I was a little optimistic. But yeah,
the fight itself was reasonably close. The scoring was not close, and people think scoring is always an indication of how close the fight is, but of course, that's not always true.
For sure.
There you go.
And that is a fine bomber jacket you're wearing. We're going to revamp merch for the new year.
Yeah,
so,
I think 2025 we're gonna do things a little differently.
So hold your horses, keep your money. We'll be back with a bang in 2025.
Also, morningkombat@gmail.com, because why, BC? Why?
Because every Friday we handle your fan submissions, your dead wrongs. Also, it's your opportunity to reach the show. Tell Mikey we said hi. Just please do not place a photo of your stick in the pic.
But we are doing a mailbag episode on Friday as well.
Yes, this week, Black Friday. So after you get into a fight at Best Buy and before you watch the fights on PFL, catch us 11 a.m. Eastern on Friday, a special mailbag holiday edition. How are we going to solicit these mailbag questions?
Send them to us at morningkombat@gmail.com.
So do that today. We will be recording this on Wednesday, airing it on Friday. Before Wednesday, hit us up with your questions. Fun holiday mailbag as we always give you. Maybe we'll set the stage for PFL too, because people got to find out who's going to win Decheva versus Talia. It's a good fight.
That's a great fight. Tyler Santos and Dakota Decheva is like legitimately intriguing and fun and interesting. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
I think Don Davis should add an extra end to his first
it's
name.
not that the PFL, we talked about this before the show, right, Luke? It's not that they don't have quality fights or quality fighters. They just don't have quality promotion or quality business strategy.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say despite that fight being close on paper, the odds are crazy in favor of Dakota. She's like minus 380.
Oh, Talia could take her down, right?
Yeah. I might take Talia plus 250 or
Talia
whatever.
beat Shevchenko in front of my eyes, I thought.
I mean, not according to the judges,
Sure.
but it was certainly close.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, then again, I thought Whitaker beat Adesanya in the rematch too.
The match to make was obviously Whitaker, John Jones. That was the one
That
got
was
the one that got away.
slipped
BC.
through the cracks. Yeah, it is. Luke, do you have any fun Turkey Day plans that you're willing to share with the people?
I have to take the train down to Richmond. I'm going to take the train down to Richmond to go spend the day with my family down there.
How long of a ride is that?
Assuming there's no issues, less than 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone's cooking a turkey in your family?
My brother and my sister, remember they had a restaurant together. So they're doing all the cooking. They were like, just go. But they told me, I swear to God, this is how they have, I know they have no confidence in me. Rightly. They were like, can you just go buy some sides at Whole Foods?
Oh, wow. See, they're even giving you the location they want it from. They're like, don't go to ShopRite. Don't make them
Which
yourself.
I wouldn't have done. I would have gone to Whole Foods anyway.
Yes.
But I was like, you know what? Man, fuck y'all.
You should bring specific Colombian dishes to this event.
I've done that in the past, and sometimes it's a huge hit, and sometimes it's a huge miss.
Sometimes it's a doom, if you will.
Yeah.
I didn't. You know what I mean?
This time I'm just gonna get high and sit around.
Okay, a lot of people, I'm sure, are waiting to see if we will react to AJ Bufumo's return to professional wrestling at AEW Full Gear over
Did
the
I
weekend.
not see a headline that they got into some like white supremacist shit?
I did not see that. Wow, that's aggressive. I did not see that.
So they didn't do it on purpose. Someone bought a cameo, as I understand it, and made them talk in code, and they were none the wiser. So
I
they
did
just
not
did
know about that, but we'll be seeing a little bit of that shit. And have you seen it? So we'll find out later in the show.
Yeah, my nose is look at the shit that came out of my nose.
I mean, really, we're doing this. I mean, can we get a live shot of your asshole while we're at it too, please? I mean,
dude, look at that! I got fucking pterodactyls coming out of my nose.
Please leave that out so everyone else gets.
Dude, I want you to look at that.
All right, hey, without
honestly,
that note,
it looks like I wiped my ass.
It really does. Let's get fired up for today. Let's hit the topics that matter. And topic number one, of course, is that fan-friggin-tastic UFC Macau main event in the bantamweight division. Two former UFC champions facing off. But how about this? A rejuvenation of sorts for former title holder Petr Yan as he reclaims his elite status with a thrilling 5-round unanimous decision victory over former flyweight king Deiveson Figueiredo. So, Luke, 4 losses in his previous 6 bouts, but for the 31-year-old Yan, he looked completely reborn, as I mentioned. So was this performance strong enough, in your opinion, to do what we teased last week? Should the UFC brass consider allowing Petr Yan, now 2-fight win streak, former champion, to cut the line even ahead of Umar Nurmagomedov to get that next shot at Merab's title?
I'm not so sure that they should. Now, you're saying cut the line? So
I'm saying because we said, what if one of these guys on Saturday gets a huge knockout? Could they cut the line?
Yeah.
This dominant 5-round performance in a very good fight, is that enough?
Probably not enough to cut the line in that sense. Now, you might be saying, well, again, overall resumes, and this was a very quality win by Yan. Yan obviously has done better work at bantamweight. Hello, he's been a former champion. Nurmagomedov only has really one high-quality win, which would be the Corey Sandhagen one. Yan would arguably get maybe should, in some people's minds, get an opportunity to get a title shot. But BC, here's the problem. If Merab is the champ, that's what we're talking about here, cutting the line, we already saw this fight not too long ago, which isn't to say it would be different, but the first fight was not that great as a fun kind of exercise, and it was dominant in favor of Merab. Again, a second fight might be different, but we've at least seen this once, and it was kind of one-sided. You are probably looking for maybe a fresher matchup. Also, what I would say is you do have some options at bantamweight. BC, could I see an argument for Yan cutting the line? I don't think it's the craziest one. I just wouldn't make it. What I would say is let Nurmagomedov have a title shot, freshen it up. Yan could get the winner of that. Or how about this? Why don't we just run back Petr Yan versus Sugar Sean O'Malley?
Not a horrible idea.
The first fight was close. I thought Yan won that. By the way, on Friday, we did talk about the fact that those 3 losses that he had, I thought Figgy might throw in an upset. Okay,
Sure.
Wrong on that level. But on the other side, he had the 2 split decisions and then the loss to Merab. All 3 of those guys either were or are champions. The burial of Yan is premature. So there's a lot of room for optimism that he could get a title shot again, that he could win a title again. But I do think rotating in some newer characters into the bantamweight universe is probably better for the division.
Well, Yan, and maybe it was opportunistic sort of brand management, said afterwards he has nothing to prove a second time against O'Malley, that he wants to go straight for that title against Merab. So we do have Merab's reaction. He did a live stream during the fight and was talking about it, and then he did this video afterwards. If you don't mind hitting that up, let's hear from the champ.
Great fight, Peter. I like your call out and I like your respect. Let's go again after 2 years. March 8th. T-Mobile. Let's fucking go.
Okay, champ. He's got a date. He's got a please send location. He's got that. But it really comes back to what we talked about with Umar. Like, he doesn't have enough prerequisite wins, but he's got that big one against the streaking Sandhagen. So I kind of lean with you. I think Merab versus Umar is just that sexy-ass, hardcore fan delight fight that we kind of need to see right now. Are you getting the feeling that some on X are, or most, that Merab just doesn't want to lose the title to Umar, when I think this fight is perfect, 50-50 Merab-Umar? He wants to fight anybody but Umar, it seems.
I don't know how a Merab-Umar fight goes. I think it's competitive in ways that some of his other ones have not been. But I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other about it. But I do. I mean, I don't know how you can observe what he's doing and come to the conclusion that he has an equal amount of desire to fight both Umar as well as Yan, or, you know, name any other contender who was available. It seems pretty clear that there is a difference in how much he is seeking out some of these adventures over the other ones. And again, you sort of understand it. Your money goes up substantially when you have the title. This is not a case like John Jones. I mean, there's his own one, but, you know, he's had the title the vast majority of his career. All of his bouts have a title in them one way or the other. Merab has had a long journey to get here. He's trying to preserve that as long as possible. And I understand that. So I'm not one of these like buffoons who's like, Merab is scared of him. Merab doesn't seem afraid of very much at all. But maybe to his own detriment, to be quite honest with you, BC. However, he already beat Yan. He probably feels pretty confident he could at least do something similar a second time around. Nurmagomedov is at a bare minimum, BC, a little bit more of a wild card in that respect. And I just don't think he wants that fight as much.
I know. It's going to come down to what the UFC brass wants. Bringing the topic back to Petr Yan where it belongs. You rightfully said in the build-up that you can't hold, even though it's 4 losses in 6 fights, obviously all beginning with that DQ loss at the title level to Aljo. You can't necessarily hold that against Yan because he was so competitive during that stretch. He's always taking on elite competition. And at 31, Luke, he did come back here and remind us exactly who he is against a very stiff test in Figueiredo, who brought it, who was the fresher fighter late, who was landing big bombs. Wasn't enough. You saw some 50-45 scorecards. So when we look back at Yan during the stretch in which there were a lot of defeats, and then we compare it to that performance against Figgy, what were the differences in your eyes?
Partly just the matchup itself. I did not like Figueiredo's game plan. The initial inside trip he had in the first round with the top control was really great. Yeah. He had the back for a little while, but couldn't do necessarily a ton with it. I did give him the first round, but I don't think it's crazy for 50-45 Yan. I totally understand that. So he had some things going well for him, but the big problem was he just wasn't pressing Yan backwards. He was kind of relenting pressure. That is just a hard thing. What did we talk about on Friday, BC? You had to make Yan unsure of what kind of attack was coming. He was in total control of both range and real estate. That's a tough.
And even though he got takedowns outside of the first round where there was a sort of a lengthy sequence, Yan was getting right back up for the most part.
Very much. And so he had to spend a lot of time holding for control, which did not allow him to put any like abuse down there when he had an opportunity otherwise. And so partly it was just a matchup. But again, I feel like Yan totally was done wrong by some of the narrative about that. I thought he beat Sean O'Malley straight up. I did not think he beat Aljo. I thought Aljo the second time around him certainly beat him fair and square.
A very close fight.
And then the Merab fight, I think Merab attempted something like 50 takedowns in their first contest. Again, all former champions. Okay, you're not going to beat all the champions of your time in all likelihood unless you're just generationally special like John Jones at light heavyweight. Okay, you're not that. You're still great. There's still many levels to greatness beyond just being generationally set apart from everyone else walking the earth at the exact same time. And we have a hard time differentiating that because there are different ways to measure greatness or measure at least elite quality. BC, is he generationally great? No, I don't think so. But he's elite. He has good skills everywhere. He is hard to hold down. He's hard to take down. By the way, how about some of those combos where he was hitting them, making him move a direction, and then intercepting them on the other side?
Or the way he was setting up those quick snatch takedowns where he was coming over with the overhand left and then pulling the trip
like
at the same
stepping
time.
in Osotogari, whatever
I don't know those fancy words that Bisping was using. He used a lot of words, Bisping, on that broadcast. He tends to dominate every broadcast that he's on to a detrimental level.
Not the most parsimonious.
I don't know how he is at Power Slap because I would never watch that, but it wasn't great in that regard. Look, Yan was reborn. He was completely well-rounded in this. The takedown defense, ability to scramble and get up so quickly. The meanness was back, that sort of edge that he brings to it. He always had an answer for pretty much anything Figgy had. Now, Figgy, to his credit, was in this fight, even if he scored at 5-0, he was in this fight for big stretches. I forgot if it was round 2 or 3, but I edged it to Figgy because he had a big rally at the end.
Was it 4?
Not 4, because then in 4 he does get the knockdown.
Yes.
But I didn't love his work the rest of the way.
Fair, yes.
But we did find out from Petr Yan afterwards that punch in round 4 did impact him. Let's listen to him.
Можно продолжать двигаться дальше. Бывает всякое.
You know, when he landed this knockdown with his punch, I thought, it's not a new year yet, but fireworks already started. And maybe I was lost for a little second, but then I was recovered pretty fast and knew what's going on. It's a tough sport. You can land tough punches. Anything can happen. So you have to be ready. You can be broken or you can keep going.
I just love you can see it in his face. Like everything is back. The mojo is back. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been battle tested. He's been through a tough stretch. Everyone was sort of, kind of thinking this was maybe the end of him at the elite level, even though he's right around that 30-year-old age mark. But it seemed like there was almost this relief in Yan to get this opportunity to come back and be himself again. And it wasn't like he wasn't that far from himself in recent fights, but even separate from the results, they're just lacked an edge. I don't know. It seemed like that knee against Aljo really set him back for a while. Not completely, not making him wash, not making him where those, even the addition of those losses didn't bring down completely what we think of him, but he just picked it all back up for this fight. And it was really refreshing to see, I thought.
It was. He looked in flow state. He looked like they had a clear understanding of what they were up against. how Figgy would react, and then how to build offense thereafter. By the way, Yan, a characteristically slow start. Again, I think you could give Figgy round 1 if you wanted to. I did in real time upon rewatch, maybe not as ironclad. Nevertheless, he got right to work in challenging those positions, and then from there on out, yes, he got rocked in round 4 or whatever. But who won this fight for longer stretches? Obviously, Yan, and he, I think, got to work a little bit quicker, despite having some of the grappling challenges in the first round than normal. And so, you mentioning the confidence. He had to know how it had to be very frustrating to lose fights against guys this good, this closely. And I wonder what it's done in the training room to make him sharpen up just a few different things, because he was never that out of it.
Sure.
So you don't need a big correction, but you might need the small right adjustment. And maybe Figueiredo doesn't tell us if he got all of those answers, but he's still obviously in the ballpark. He's still obviously he hasn't dropped off to me in skill level in any discernible way. If anything, BC, he's still getting better.
But he was kind of forgotten at the title level of late with the losses. So now to inject him right back in the mix in an already deep division, we got some fun things ahead in the future. This fight did give us a bunch, by the way, of feel-good moments. How good did you feel when Yan and Figgy get up on the cage at the end after 5 rounds and just look at each other with that brotherly respect? Like, yeah, look at us. We fucking did it. Like, it wasn't fight of the year, but that was a really nice encapsulation of elite martial arts with 2 former champions coming together.
Yeah, it wasn't one of these things where it was like, to your point, fight of the year, or like, oh my God, that was, exhausting to watch in a good way as a spectator. But it was high level. It was you know what it was? It was thoughtful the whole way through.
Yeah.
And it was at times nip and tuck. At times the action let loose a little bit more. But everyone was trying to build off of what had just happened, and to see the challenge to that, and then the challenge to that, and then the challenge to that. It was fun. It was dynamic. It was smart.
It was Saturday morning over a cup of coffee on the East Coast. It was great.
So it was a really, really thoughtful, good fight. Again, that wasn't even necessarily a number 1 contenders fight. It was kind of close to that. It may end up being that way, but my point is, it wasn't even a surefire number 1 contender battle. And look at how high quality it was. This division is just high level.
Well, there was an even better, by the way, wholesome moment. We'll get to it in a second. But speaking of Yan, is there a correlation here historically or in recent memory where somebody was a champion, then had, even though we're 4 losses in 6 fights, his performances didn't degrade. He was still an elite fighter in those performances. But I'm trying to remember, have we seen a fighter lose that many times after losing the belt and then make another run, another comeback? Because he looks like he's on the verge of another run here, and at 31, he's not past it. Has someone taken that many losses and been counted out only to turn that around? I can't. Long Island Luke, you got anybody off the top of your head?
No, I'm racking my brain. I can't think of anyone.
I mean, it's not the same. Aldo got smoked by McGregor and then got the interim title back by beating Frankie.
But this is 4 losses in 6 fights, all in either title fights or very elite fights.
Right. So that would be different. And then obviously Couture had issues, but then would change divisions.
Yes.
So that's not quite the same either, because he's staying in the shark-infested waters. And then Max lost the title and got the BMF one up a weight class, but that's not what you're talking about here either.
I mean, Aldo going through the 2 stoppage losses to Max at about the same age and then turning it back around is maybe a decent comparison.
Something
but
close.
That's not as many losses in that sense. It's wild. It's crazy. It's very good to see. And it produced the moment I'm talking about. This was during the post-fight interview. I hope UFC doesn't take down our show today for showing this, but I had to take the risk because it's a father and son moment that just had to touch you right in the feel zone. Let's watch it.
Я очень рад победе папы!
I'm very happy that my dad won.
Oh, God. Chris Weidman is still my boy. Dude, that was awesome, right?
Yeah, it was nice to do the show with you today. It's now over.
We had a good run. Seriously, dude, that's come on.
I just want to say this, too. I mean, the wholesome moments don't mean shit to me.
Yeah, because you don't have a soul anymore.
I'm too old. Well, also, dude, they did that. We didn't even mention it. They did the Stipe Miocic fucking at 7 a.m.
in Macau, yes.
In Macau. I'm like, you guys know he fought last week, but okay, neither here nor there. I just want to point this out. Aljamain Sterling was a champion, had a good run at it, but it didn't last. It only lasted so long. Yeah. Sean O'Malley, similar kind of thing. And Yan, a similar kind of thing. It didn't last all that long. How could it? It's very difficult. Merab is up against it. He's probably going to have to fight maybe Yan again or probably Nurmagomedov. I don't know how much longer his title run will be. This is what I mean. I don't know. Think about how good you have to be just to be a top contender in this division, much less a champion, much less a champion who has multiple title defenses. And this is my point. people bagging on how he lost 4 of 6, one of which was the DQ, and then we mentioned the other ones were all to champion. All 4 were all to champions.
Sure.
How good do you have to be better than all of those guys? Think about how massively, insanely good you have to be able to be like, I'm going to hold this belt for 5 title defenses at 135 pounds. You have to be exceptional beyond what we have known in history to be true to this point. So anybody who can get that title is insane. If he can get back there and get another one, dude, recapturing a belt at 135
after that many losses,
after that much time too has expired, that is insane.
Well, he had his wife, his kids at the fight, and Yan caught up with Helen Yee Sports. I got to shout out Helen Yee. She did a ton of interviews with fighters on this card heading in Mandarin with subtitles.
She did?
Yes, it was very impressive to see.
Pretty cool.
Here's Yee talking to Yan about this wholesome moment involving his son.
Your family standing front row, your son came in there afterwards. He was crying. He made a lot of grown men cry tonight. How special was that for you?
Рад победы, папы!
I'm very happy that my dad won.
Это круто. Я думаю, что для него это будет отличным примером, уроком, личный пример.
I think for him it will be a good example, good lesson in life.
Well, he's very proud of you, and he doesn't call you brother anymore, right?
My son told me, brother, what the
Очень горд тобой, больше называть тебя братом.
Я думаю, что он горд мной, да.
Yeah, I think he's proud.
Но я для него отец, брат, друг.
But for him, I'm a father, brother, and a friend.
I think they've been watching too much Habib and Islam and everybody.
Brother.
Brother. Great to see. Now, Figgy, on the other hand, 36 years old, credible performance for sure.
Certainly.
Couldn't get over the hump. It stops a 3-fight win streak. I mean, it's weird to say how much more do you think he has left at this level, because I didn't think he'd get to this level when he moved up in weight following the 4-fight series with Brandon Moreno. What would be a good fight for him next? And is he still a threat here, lingering around this deep title run in this
I think
division?
him versus Sandhagen is
That's
fun.
a hell of a fight.
That's a fun one.
Does this style work? He's small at this weight.
Not enough to win a belt, but everybody else probably, yeah.
He's got, like, if his opponent has wrestling deficiency, that certainly can buy him time in fights, and he's such a good counter puncher and really loads up on his shots. But was this his window that he needed a win here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the kind of performance. Again, losing to Petr Yan is not some kind of mark of shame. Far from it. However, I am now skeptical of any chance he has to win a title in this weight class. One never knows. He could fill in last minute, and you certainly saw it, to your point, in round 4. He's got dynamic power for even at 130.
He has so much better stamina at this weight class. So
Yes.
he was fresh late.
So there are many things to still like about Figgy, but saying to yourself, okay, there are things I like. Are those sufficient for claiming a weight class title? Probably not.
Okay.
And so for that reason, I still am high on him. There's a bunch of fun matchups. Dude, you know, honestly, he's kind of tailor-made for like a BMF at 135. I'm not calling for that.
Sure.
I'm not begging them to make that. But if they were to say, hey, we have to make a bantamweight title fight for BMF, who are you putting in there? Top 10, who are you putting in there?
So
Figgy and who?
BMF, but Max is the BMF champion. I
At
guess
135. At 135.
we're gonna have a BMF title at each weight class.
No. Just hear me out. Just imagine they said that.
Yes.
Brian Campbell, we'll call you up. Give us what we go. Figgy versus who? Who would you make?
Bantamweight, Jose Aldo.
You could do that. That's fun.
Is that's some Brazilian
Who
Brazilian
would you
crime.
do? 135, Long Island Luke.
Dude,
BMF.
I've been looking at the rankings and sitting on that Jose Aldo matchup for a minute now for when you guys asked me. I like that fight a lot.
That'd be badass because it put Jose back in the big-ish fight,
Yeah.
you know, with stakes.
And you know, again, no one has like weight class title aspirations for Jose Aldo, so you can just let it bang.
Okay, do you think it's better if the BMF was handled by the UFC as a once-a-year fight? So, like, you could have a list of annual BMF champions rather than you win the belt and then you get to defend it, which was broken up by Jorge winning the belt from Diaz and then going right into a title fight. So, like, people still think Kamaru's the lineal BMF champion, I guess, until he lost.
I don't know what the best way
Leon.
is to do that, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe once a year, like at the MSG card, for example, we're doing a BMF fight. So that means it could be open to men, women, whatever
You know
division.
what they should do? Like, part of the problem was they made the prizes the same. Yes, it's a silver belt, but it's still a belt.
Yes.
They should have made them like one of those pride gigantic trophies,
Or like
where
a
like
robe or something cool.
It signifies something you won on that night, but obviously it expires on that night. Cinderella, her slippers,
Yes.
the pumpkin or the carriage turns back into a pumpkin.
How about a red MAGA hat autographed by the president from outside the cage after you win it? It comes off of his head and onto yours.
Not for me per se.
We're not that far away from that.
Yeah, we're not that far. But you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Making a trophy that signifies an achievement on that evening, but no one has any expectations about defending it. There's nothing to defend. It was just a thing you win on that night.
Yes, I'm with that. I'm with that. I jacket would be cool. Like a cool 80s satin jacket that says baddest motherfucker.
A big old fucking check, make it like a $5 million prize.
Oh, you mean like BKFC's $25 million tournament coming up?
Something like that. And then, do it pride style. You get a big trophy, they drop confetti from the sky, they give you a big check, an oversized check, and everyone has a great time. And then you're like, oh, who was the big guy that night? Figgy, whoever.
I didn't see a press release for Conor's situation from Endeavor, by the way, or TKO.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Yeah, well, he probably paid enough in legal fees. That's usually Dana's response. He was penalized enough in legal fees.
His penalty will be social ostracism.
There you go. We'll get to Conor, by the way. Let's keep going though on this card to topic number 2, and that's the Macau Undercard headline, of course, by 2 big results. Yan Xiaonan in the co-main event, making her claim for a second chance potentially at the 115 title. And we'll get to Wang Tong coming in as one of the biggest betting favorites to get upset in UFC memory. But Luke, let's start with Yan Xiaonan here. Tabatha Ricci, the opponent. Xiaonan was absolutely dominant in cooling off a version of Ricci who suddenly didn't look so ready for prime time. Was this performance in your eyes more about Yan reclaiming that elite status similar to Petr Yan in the main event? Not that Yan Xiaonan really lost it despite losing a competitive 5-round decision to Wei Li. Or is this more about Ricci proving that she still has a long way to go to be title ready in these matchups?
I think I hate these answers, but it really is quite true. I found Ricci to be lacking, which was something we were a little bit worried about on Friday.
Sure.
We said that there was a problem with having enough devastation in her game, but it's more than that. Like the reason why she can't engage in enough devastation with damage is because she has trouble in this particular case closing the distance, and when it's on the ground, it's maintaining control position enough that you can open up. There's key fundamentals missing in the game.
Doesn't have finishing power and has small limbs. That's a problem unless you're light years faster.
And also,
than your
how do I
opponents.
navigate this distance in a way to do something meaningful? That is still an ongoing
She ran out
problem.
of ideas.
Yeah, and again, it was up against somebody who was a former title contender in this division. She wasn't fighting some chump, but it also looked to me like Yan Xiaonan knew she had the upper hand and behaved in it. Was kind of, and I say this in a good way, kind of a bully in there at times, especially when it went late, kicking her in the face.
Dude, her counter right hand, the same right hand that put Jessica Andrade to sleep, which is no joke in women's fighting, especially against somebody that legendary. That every time Ricci tried to mount offense, right hand counter down the middle, end of discussion.
She got disciplined and held at bay, and it was just a superior fighter against a less superior fighter. It was not that Ricci looked bad. We are not saying Ricci looked bad. That's not the argument we're making. But she did look, BC, competent, but limited.
Limited is the right word.
Competent, but limited. And that's just not enough to earn a title shot in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Competent, but limited is good. It can get you some things. It's certainly hard to do, nothing we could ever do. But it's not enough to what you were describing, which is to reach these kind of lofty heights. I thought Yan looked great. I thought Ricci looked fine. But that's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the actual answer is. Like, what is this fight more about? What Yan did or what Ricci didn't? What Yan did, though, at 35 was come back and completely remind us who she is. And here's what's crazy. Like, this is actually kind of the perfect setting for this performance. It's in Macau, in China there. Zhang Weili's in the crowd. And Luke, right away, I'm thinking, all right, good idea to have a great performance and call for an immediate title shot. But I'm kind of wondering now. Let's talk about 115 suddenly. It was my favorite division forever. It seemed forever deep, like the top 10 was legitimate from the start in 2014, and it always felt like we had 3 or 4 or 5 potential champions on the roster. If you look at the rankings right now at strawweight, with Tatiana Suarez being injured, with Mackenzie Dern being inconsistent and really unable to put together like 2 or 3 fight win streaks to get, they've been waiting to give her a title shot, right? Does it actually make sense that Yan Xiaonan getting a second chance is probably the fight to make? People are complaining that Weili's been inactive. They just want to see her back in. We always said that when those two fought, it should have been in China. Instead, they put it on UFC 300 at a time that they needed another title fight there. I'm wondering if she didn't just perfectly audition in China with Weili there cage side where it actually makes the most sense. Let's do this and let's do it again somewhere over there.
Maybe. I didn't necessarily get that vibe, although that's again, that division's a little strange.
But it's like, who's gonna if it's not her, it's gonna be Verna Jandiroba, who's on a good run. But like, are you screaming she should be in the next title shot?
No, there's not a huge amount of push for her to be in that position. Yeah, you make a good point. You can certainly go that direction. I hadn't given it much thought, to be perfectly honest with you, but
how close do you think she was at 300? Was she was in that fight? There was, it was a.
Yeah, I never felt like she was really all that it is. I mean, in this particular case,
did she knock the champ down?
Fine, she can thump, which we knew, but I never felt like she really. I never felt like that bout was in doubt about which way it would go once it really got started. In this particular case, I will say something that we thought, what's going to be the most relevant metric? The fact that Ricci is 29 and Xiaonan is 35?
Yes.
Or is it going to be that Xiaonan was ranked 2 in this division, Ricci was ranked 10? Turns out it was the latter. That was the most important one. That was a big step up for Ricci. And again, performed competently, but it was too big of a step up, it turned out. Yan Xiaonan holding serve, essentially, at the number 2 position, really showing us that there are qualities between 1 to 5 and then 6 to 10.
For sure. And it's the limitations, as we said, the limitations of what Ricci couldn't do. So I see a lot of criticism. Excuse me, I got soda burps that have to come out. I'm trying here. Wow,
you are a disgusting barn animal.
By the way, over the weekend with the family, I saw the new Rock Christmas movie, that red one. It's actually pretty good.
My daughter in the back seat yesterday kept saying over and over when we left the park, "I love farting." She kept going, "I love farting. I love farting."
She's a Thomas. Luke, back to Ricci. A lot of criticism online that seemed to be echoed from the broadcast, by the way, that maybe it's not just what I'm talking about, like a lack of finishing power at this elite level. They talked about not as much of a variety of a kicking game than maybe she should have, maybe too much focus on boxing. And then even though she has success with takedowns from the clinch, she does not have the ability to shoot a double or single or pull it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that for her to get over this hump, she's going to need major changes? Some people are saying a new camp. I mean, is there is there a way she fixes
new camp?
this?
I don't know, because those are very big considerations. When people say new camp, just get a new camp. That often means like leaving the state.
Yeah. Or you're saying more of a new focus, maybe? Then?
Yeah, or sometimes leaving the country, depending on your perspective. These are a little bit harder to do than folks might imagine. I would say this. It's clearly whatever she's doing is not enough. It's not enough. How that problem is solved, I kind of leave to her without understanding more of the specifics.
But would you agree in theory that if there was the threat of a takedown, not just in the clinch, it would improve her striking so much more?
Significantly. But these are a series of problems. It's really not one or the other. It's not one thing that I think, it could be something that one coach could fix, but you'd really have to have the right one.
Dude, it's hard. Like, Poatan has no business having the takedown defense in ability on the ground that he has. He doesn't have great ability on the ground, but he also has not been submitted down there, right?
Right.
And he just seemed to adjust to it like that, working with Glover and just being a special freak. I'm never sure how realistic it is for us to say, well, if you just add your wrestling or if you just fix this in this part of the game, like, if you're a great athlete and a willing student and you have a good coach, is that a winning formula? It will work. You'll get
better. You won't necessarily get across what the finish line is that you need to relevant to your goals.
Yes.
So, for example, BC, if I trained with Usain Bolt on sprinting, would I get faster sprinting than I would necessarily on my own or with a different coach?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
But I'm not going to qualify for any Olympic trials, right? There's the difference. You will get better, but are you going to get better enough to match what your ambition is? That's a separate consideration altogether.
I
see that brain turning. See those wheels turning.
No, I mean, I'm always conjuring up counter skits and bits. I just have to make the game time decision. Am I going to derail the show for one that doesn't land, Luke?
Oh, I see.
Can I be Sully Sullenberger or am I Corey Lytle instead? That's the question. You know what I mean? Wow. All right. I mean, okay, let's keep it going here, Luke. Also on this card, by the way, China's Wang Tong, who does the Joker bit, 35-year-old, has a win over Shevchenko in kickboxing, seemed to be on the fast track toward a flyweight title. No more, folks. Gabriela Gabi Fernandez from Brazil really just waited out all of the threat of Tong striking. And once they got deeper into that fight, turned one huge counter left hand that floored Tong into an instant back take and then almost an instant tap. So, Luke, this is the first pro defeat for Tong in 7 fights. It's a massive loss. How much cause for concern for Wang Tong, who was doing all the right things and telling us and the UFC brass that she's the next star? Look, she's ready. That bit she did at the weigh-in with the flip the coin and all that, it was brilliant. And it's not like she fought awful here. She was in control for a lot of it. But when it went south, the fight was over. Does this derail her plans, or is this just a learning curve in this game that you can't fake?
I think I could be ready to forgive it. You'll recall Shevchenko lost to Nunes the first time. Granted, it was very different. She was losing and then rallied back strongly, but she did lose. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't necessarily the case that she had this impeccable run to the title, and it was.
That was also in a number one contenders fight, though. That wasn't in a.
I understand there's meaningful differences. I'm not trying to compare the two apples to apples. I understand that there's a lot that's different. I'm pointing out just because she lost this one and lost it kind of badly in the end it's not like proof that she can't win a title. It's really not what I'm trying to say. However, what I think came across, and I watched it again on the train ride up, BC, which was she was buying her own hype a little bit here, right? That was the red flag to me was, okay, getting knocked out is not great, but the way in which she just was very dismissive of anything Fernandez could do
standing
back to her.
Very close to her,
standing close to her, getting head kicked, and then not really trying to clinch, just keep standing back at range.
The head kick is really what set her up.
That's
for
what
that
set
punch,
her up.
yeah.
I remember it kind of spilled out over the top of her neck and knocked her over. She caught herself in her hands and stood back up immediately, and then she just ate that gigantic left hand. But she was rocked. She was kind of doing a little bit of the fish dance. It's like, I can forgive this because, A, we don't exactly know how good Fernandez is. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out that Fernandez is actually amazing and has like super great power. And, okay, that's totally understandable. But it is very apparent on tape to me that Kong did not have respect for her opponent, was very much just trying to let it go, backing up in straight lines at times, like being a little bit undisciplined and dismissive on the defensive end. Not an accident that this happened, I guess, in hindsight.
She got put to sleep. That was quick.
Dude.
That choke was in, and
I didn't know anything about Fernandez watching this fight. And then I go and see what she was doing, and I was like, dude, Fernandez doesn't look bad. But remember, Fernandez landed a couple of big strikes in the first round, too. Now, that was a much better round for Kong. I'm not saying that Kong lost that round. Kong won that round walking away. But it wasn't like Fernandez just wilted in the first round.
No, she was so game. She was a plus 750 underdog coming in. We more or less dismissed her as, which fighter is this? But, I mean, we didn't have the info. And now you find out, well, there was a picture of her and Amanda Nunes that was recently taken at MMA Masters. And you find out, like Amanda, who lived at the gym at MMA Masters for almost a year before eventually finding, a place to live in Florida, Fernandez is doing the same thing, living at that gym. She mentioned in the post-fight interview that she'd just gone through the loss of her father, the loss of a sibling. So she was like severely injured coming in. She had a leg injury, yet she took the opportunity, bit down, and created a big moment. I'm excited. I mean, we don't have an answer for like what's next for her. How good is she? This was day one, but we've seen origin stories kind of start like this before, right? Where someone comes in under turmoil, but is just so driven, gets an opportunity, scores a big upset, and then it's sort of like, oh, we should have seen that coming all along. I wonder if she turns into one of those stories.
Again, there's meaningful differences between this comparison, but I remember when Joe Lazon fought Jens Pulver, and everyone was like, oh, Pulver's going to
pulverize this guy. And then Lazon fucking viciously KOs him in the first round, I believe. And, you're just like, oh, well, there's more to this story than I realized that there was. Again, will that be the case here? Only time will tell. But MMA is full of these kinds of, oh, actually, the story is not about X. The story is about Y. Let's see how it plays out. Chuck Mindenhall was right. The Izzy versus Poetan story.
He was definitely right, but also Izzy reclaimed some of that by finishing him and then him moving on to the next division.
If he had a full head of hair, would you not have questioned him there and said he was right? Full stop. Or are you still wounded by the Return of the Jedi vibes?
Yeah. I've seen the bald dome years before many people have.
Yes, all right. I mentioned the fourth biggest dog to cash in UFC history. Fernandez was plus 750.
Is she the biggest dog in UFC Fight Night history?
No.
The other ones that happened on...
Because I thought so let's break it down. The number one biggest underdog cash out is plus 950 Shayna Dobson against Maria Agapova. It was after Agapova made her debut. I think that was a fight night.
Yes.
I guess it could have been on the undercard of a pay-per-view. I don't remember.
Let me double check.
It was from Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar fight night.
Yeah,
So that was plus 950 was Dobson. The number two biggest one, Matt Serra plus 850 against GSP in their first
definitely
fight.
Pay-per-view.
And then, of course, Holly Holm plus 830 betting underdog and taking down Rousey in Australia. So that's a big moment there for Gabby Fernandez. We'll see what happens in the future. Luke, let's keep on going down this line here. The light heavyweight tilt between Carlos Ulberg and Volkan Oezdemir seemed to be putting somebody into contention and furthering up the rankings. It turned out to be Ulberg. It was a 3-round decision. competitive fight, but I think the speed, the accuracy of his counter shots continuously beat Volkan to the punch, although Ozdemir did get some licks in. How impressive was that for Olberg? Because this continues that winning streak, but yet he's in competitive fights every single time, it seems, until he finishes these guys. You didn't get the finish here, but this is probably his best win up to date on the paper.
There's simply no question it's his best win over his highest quality opponent. In that sense, you really have to give it to him, commend him. I thought he had really, for the most part, pretty excellent use of the long guard, right, where he kind of hangs that hand out here like this. I thought his footwork in general, not totally, but in general, kept him out of some of the worst punishment that Ozdemir was trying, didn't make him a stationary target, and he couldn't polish him off, right, which is typically what Olberg does, fast counter-striking. You saw him backing up and then hitting that check hook at times. He's got a brilliant left hook. I mean, it's maybe his best weapon.
And he has balls in there, too. He's not afraid to joust.
Absolutely not afraid of contact. So here's what I thought. My read on Olberg prior to the fight, BC, was I felt like he was offensively good but limited and not defensively strong. And I think in general, I still kind of believe that. However, with a pretty big difference. I thought his offense, like when he couldn't knock him out, do you have enough to maintain the kind of order between the two of you for 15 minutes? And he could.
Yeah.
That is no small feat. I give him big props for that. I do think that his style, to the point you raised, is spot on, BC. His style is kind of always going to involve a little more contact than you would like.
Yeah.
And that might limit his upside. But I also felt like his defensive awareness and responsibility, keeping his hand up on the exit, constantly in motion, was much better.
How about the takedown defense? Not that Volkan's a knockout wrestler,
takedown
but
defense was great, getting off the fence. He didn't spend a lot of time pinned up against the fence. Dude, there's a lot to like about Olberg. You go back to, did you see somebody in there that can beat Poatan? Well, with his speed and his explosivity, hold on. Dude,
I didn't see someone that could beat Poatan.
Hold on. You don't see someone, if they fought 10 times, Poatan wins the majority of those.
Yeah.
Right? If they fought 10 times, Poatan wins the majority of those. Does he win all 10?
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm just saying, whenever you've got big guys like this who have fast hands and they're accurate counterpunchers, anything is possible. And I've watched enough MMA to be like, bitch, anytime you think someone's invincible, that is when they go crashing to the mat. I would pick Poatan to win. Please don't misunderstand me.
Well, I like the balls that Olberg has seemed to show in the build-up to this fight, saying that, he's not afraid of Poatan. That's good to hear. What did you think, though, of the immediate call-out of Khalil Roundtree Jr., who's coming off the title level? That would tell us a lot.
I love it. I think it's a great test for both guys.
He may get knocked out trying Olberg, though. Olberg may.
Both guys might.
Yeah.
Both guys might. Both guys are probably not going to go for the takedown. So as a fan, you're going to get stand-up action. They do have contrasting styles to a degree, although they try to do some of the same things. But they've got contrasting body types. They fight at different ranges with different guards. It's a fun fight. And Khalil, having earned a lot of respect and I think overperforming relative to expectations against Poatan, this would be a quality win for him to get right back on the horse. If you're Olberg and you defeat Volkan Ozdemir, previous title contender, a different era, but a previous title contender, and then you beat Khalil Roundtree, previous title contender, you're doing some pretty
That would be 9
awesome
wins
things
in a row.
He's fresh blood. People seem to like him. Again,
he's a good-looking guy.
BC wants to have sex with him.
Well, he's not.
How
not
much
Brett
does BC
Okamoto,
want to have sex with Carlos
Olberg?
Olberg?
I've realized this weekend there's a lot of men who want to have sex with
A
Carlos
lot of you
Olberg.
guys would like to have sex with
No,
Carlos
I just
Olberg.
real recognizes real, really, at the end of the day. Hey,
Yes.
Speaking of our degenerate gambling analyst, if they were to make Roundtree versus Olberg next, what do you think the line should be?
I don't know. I was just trying to actually think of that in my head. I'm going to say it'd be probably pretty close in the 100 range in either direction. Maybe.
I don't know. I think Roundtree would get the edge because of the power.
But what do you think? Like minus 175
It'd be
Roundtree?
close either way.
Yeah.
Because you could deem Olberg as hittable, and you can't take too many hits against a guy like that.
And a guy like Roundtree is explosive, can cover distance. Like,
and the thing is, Olberg had the speed advantage over Volkan. Will he have that same speed advantage against Khalil?
probably, but not nearly as much.
Yes.
Not nearly as much.
Yes, there you go. So that was interesting. But Luke, if we're talking about who blew up the undercard, it's like, who blew up the third stall at the Joseph A. Bank? We know who did that. But how about Ming Shi, the Chinese? So this was what? Are these official UFC fights?
They were road to UFC fights. They're officially sanctioned bouts.
So she's a full-time doctor. Her family did not even know she was a fighter. She comes out in the red gloves for the road to UFC setup and then delivers the boom against Fang Xiaonan.
I know, and the referee has to gator roll her off of her opponent.
Dude, that's first of all, you don't see that in women's fighting for the most part.
No.
And then second of all, in one of the early fights of the night, I guess this accomplished what they wanted to. This is somebody I want to see again.
Dude, Road to UFC has been one of the, everyone talks about Contender Series. I'm just here to tell you, Road to UFC has better fighters and better fights. Pound for pound.
Really?
Yes. Dude.
You wouldn't say that about the DWCS, though.
It's not that Contender Series doesn't have great fighters. Of course they do. They have so many coming through that they inevitably will have a lot. But they have a lot of just filler guys that are ass. Contender Series is great, but it's got the ass.
What we need is the ass in titties. Ass in
titties, like DJ Assault once told us.
Yes.
But BC, I'm telling you, like the level of like elite prospect coming through, Road to UFC is like the biggest slept on thing from casual fans that the UFC does. It is high quality.
Why don't I wake the F up? Bad segue here, but Luke Fang did get knocked out and was down for a while. They even brought him the stretcher. And somebody's trying to say, well, when was the last time we saw that? I don't even know what reference to make. I don't know when the last time we saw that was. It turns out the recovery reports are, what would you say, positive? Seems like she's going to be okay.
I think she'll be all right. I mean, it was a bad knockout.
That was a vicious knockout. It was kind of scary to see early on, though, to start the event with that.
Yes, but I also, the UFC sometimes, this is years ago, someone would get knocked out and stretchered out, and they wouldn't report it on the broadcast. I give them credit. They're much better about this now. They went back and they updated us, told us what had happened. And folks take that for granted. You never should do that because a shady-ass promotion will hide that kind of a thing.
Yes,
but UFC kept it above board. I appreciate that.
Thank you, UFC. Here's the champ, though. Zhang Weili was in the crowd for this. Let's see her reaction to the KO. I'd like to see her back in the cage anytime soon.
Dude, she was pumped. That's me when I see the shitters open.
I can just go. Let's go.
Me when the Joseph A. Bank has no one in line, I can go take a dump.
I love Weili. She's got a cool personality.
Everybody likes Weili.
Yeah.
There's a few fighters. There's not many. There's a few fighters that are basically impossible to dislike.
But still, I got to say it. She's 0-2 against Rose.
Styles make fights.
Styles
make fights.
Whoop.
Also, timing makes
fights. There it is. You got anything else to say about this card?
No, there were some other good wins along the way.
Muslim Salikov with the spinning shit.
Yeah, there was a series of these that were pretty great. Card in general, delivered.
Long Island, did you enjoy the undercard bouts of the Road to?
Yeah, I missed the first like 3 or 4 fights because I woke up at like 5 a.m. But overall, pretty good card.
Okay, did you ingest the THC during the 6 a.m. broadcast?
Oh, 100% BC.
What did you smoke?
Wow.
Purple Wagyu still, Luke. I buy in bulk. Costco guy.
Yeah. That's a boom, right? Yeah, wow, okay.
Hold on, there was one more gentleman I want to shout out. I got to pull up my notes here. Forgive me. Muslim Salikov obviously got a great win. You mentioned Carlos Ulberg. If I may, Jesus Christ, my computer.
You may, Luke. You have clearance. Okay?
My computer
Let's come through with it. You know?
My computer is, you know what? Now
is it Ming Yang Zhang?
No.
He had a nice win.
My computer is ass. I'm due for an upgrade.
All right.
Never mind. Fuck it. My computer froze.
Okay, Luke, sorry about that.
Piece of shit.
Oh, wow. All right, hey, let's go to topic number 3. Speaking of pieces of editorial over. Topic number 3, Conor McGregor doubling down on his innocence following the verdict in his civil trial for rape, sexual assault, in which he was found liable. So, Luke Thomas, there's a lot to talk about here, and there's a lot in the fallout. I want to touch back on something, though, that we ended when we reacted to this live on Friday's show and just get your opinion. How much do you expect the fallout of this trial to affect McGregor's behavior and his reputation in the short term for as long as that short term lasts?
It's a great question. So let me say a couple things up front. Number one, I was able to get an interview
I heard about this.
with a guy by the name of Frank Graney, who is a top crime reporter in Ireland.
Who does he work for?
News Talk, and then he also did a podcast just for this trial for the Irish Times. So you can check out all of that. Big thanks to, by the way, BC, I got a lot of declines to speak to me about this one.
Well, you have a reputation.
Among Irish crime reporters?
No, from John Jones, basically.
No, I don't think that's right. I think what actually happened here is that because I was coming from MMA media, I think a lot of these crime reporters were imagining that I wanted to just launder Conor's image.
Yes, and talk about the parts of the case, which there are parts of the case that seem
she had inconsistencies.
Yes, there's some gray areas in the case for sure.
that she had to address. There's no question about it. But in any case, I got a chance to speak to him. I really encourage everyone, you can make up your own mind after that, but he thoroughly details the case and the points of evidence that matter, both for the prosecution and the defense. You're asking, given the result, what's going to happen. Well, today, the Hitman video game, they distanced themselves. There have been calls in Ireland to boycott any whiskey or liquor. Or
the Rape Crisis Network Ireland, the RCNI, is calling for a boycott of all McGregor brands across Ireland.
So something, I talked to a bunch of Irish MMA journalists over the weekend, many of which, by the way, told me they're afraid to speak up. Can you believe that?
Well, I can believe it when it was revealed after the result in this trial that Nikita Hand's house had been invaded by attackers and her significant other got stabbed. And although there's no direct link to McGregor in that, and the court didn't want to entertain a potential direct link because it wasn't about that for this trial, I guess
they could not substantiate that McGregor was responsible.
There was another McGregor accuser,
a woman who had accused him of sexual assault had her car firebombed. That's correct.
Okay, so I can understand that some journalists having that.
Part of what she was seeking, Nikita Hand, was damages for €750. That was for relocation because they had to leave their place of residence and find a new one because they no longer felt safe in that residence.
Sure.
Okay, but you're asking again, fallout. Well, we've already seen some of it in Ireland. My understanding is, BC, and you've kind of felt this a little bit when you went and called the Callum Walsh fight.
Yes.
You kind of got the sense, and talking to Irish folks, that like he was not, at a bare minimum, polarizing to the Irish before this.
Well, they were past him in ways that a lot of us in the U.S. still hadn't fully been.
My understanding is the result of this is that, in general, the Irish public has found Nikita Hand to be a sympathetic character, that they, in general, agree with her case, and that Conor's reputation in Ireland is in tatters. But there's a couple of factors out there that you really have to think about. One, the combat sports space, boxing or MMA, will launder anybody's image. It really doesn't matter what you've done. Unless you've done, BC, and I'm not even trying to be flippant about it, unless you've done like Jerry Sandusky crimes for year after year after year, where like it's so radioactive that nobody can even be around you. The combat sports space will try to rehabilitate
the most forgiving.
They are the most forgiving space in the world. The second part is you have to ask yourself, what does this result do for him wanting to get back into the cage? I personally feel like his career as a meaningful contributor to MMA or somebody who can do really well is over. It's completely over.
And it's not just 3 years of inactivity mixed with rampant substance abuse. That's not even the core of it anymore.
Right.
Right.
However, ask yourself this, BC. If he declares a comeback and actually follows through, now it would depend on this on the matchmaking to some degree about how this goes, the fastest way to get rehabilitated in MMA is to take a fight.
No doubt.
It is to do a media cycle where, by the way, he was on Twitter and other places declaring his displeasure with the jury's decision and was not shy about it, intended to appeal. He said, we'll see how that goes. I'm just pointing out, I wonder if this result makes it more likely he tries to return as a way to launder his image because of how bad it is.
I felt that as we were waiting for the verdict. I think I even mentioned it on the last show that I wonder if this gets him back sooner for a lot of reasons, mostly because like if your life is out of control and you have a, come to earth moment, so to speak, a lot of times you want to run back toward discipline and all the things that were pulling you away. But the laundering of his own reputation theory would make a lot of sense because that happened in the Cowboy fight, which wasn't that in the immediate aftermath of the accusations of this exact incident?
Mm-hmm. No, this was following the Khabib fight.
Right, when it happened.
Yes.
But when he tried to when he successfully rehabbed his image in the build to Cowboy Cerrone in early 2020, it was almost as a direct result because of those accusations. I mean, you can just watch
was playing the elder statesman role and
just
how
watch
happy
the
he was.
Netflix documentary, which really tries to paint him as this ultimate family man, and that build was all about just coming back away from the problems he had caused and just trying to be a great person again. And they really laundered heavily that belief and that image. I would have said, yes, this brings him back quicker and we'll see what can happen. But this is rape. Whether or not the word guilty, because it was a civil trial, belongs in the same sentence or not, the public belief is guilty. The public belief may have already been that, but now you actually have the verdict here. So my question to you, Luke, is how much will people care? Meaning it's still Conor McGregor under any circumstance, just like when Mike Tyson came out of jail. He was a bigger star than before. Under any circumstance, people are going to want to see what he looks like, see what he's up to, all of that. But will this actively turn a large group of people away from that? Will the people still care anymore? Is my question.
About McGregor?
Yeah, because of how serious this is. Meaning, if he tried to come back and went into a training camp like 3 months from now, can you come back quickly from this, Luke? Or does there need to be a period to let your brand air out? Would he get booed by everybody in the arena or no?
No. To the extent he'll find a sympathetic audience, it will be one inside MMA for a couple of reasons. As I mentioned, people in combat sports just don't really care about ethical conduct very much. I don't think that's really an unfair statement at all. They like to pretend that they do. Like, there's a lot of lip service that's mentioned about doing things the right way. But in general, audiences and stakeholders don't seem to care that much about that. Also, the vast majority of MMA fans are young men. Statistically speaking, if you look at things like the National Crime Victimization Survey, they show that arguably as many as 2 out of 3 rapes go unreported, and the group least likely to believe women when they say that they have been a victim of sexual assault is, in fact, men,
Sure.
in particular young men. So you're just talking about an audience that's going to be primed to be, as a bare minimum, less. They're going to give a fuck less. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
But those are the hardcore fans, though, to be fair, anyway.
Yes.
McGregor fans draw in those other fans from over the fence.
So again, but you have to ask, like, what role will this rape, not again, civilly liable judgment, to what extent will that affect the American audience? Because
Sure.
his reputation is disastrous in Ireland, as I understand it. I don't know how they're going to view him in the UK. I would imagine it's something similar-ish. But in the United States, I'm not sure how much this trial broke through. And again, I'm not sure how much the MMA community cares. The thing I'm kind of interested in is how Dana White's going to respond to this. Because
they don't respond to anything.
I know, but they're going to be asked, I would imagine at some point,
Sure.
hey, what did you think about Conor being held civilly liable? And I guess he'll probably say something like the justice system is going to do what it's going to do, and he has to work that out, and we'd have no response to it.
Or he'll say, I told you guys, he's got so much money. And
but
blah,
that
blah, blah.
itself will serve to soften attitudes
True.
about it. So I think that some level of controversy because of this will follow him.
Well, they still have a trial coming up, correct me if I'm wrong, to determine who pays for the legal
That's
fees,
right. So people don't understand this. I didn't know this. They have a court case. They have to go back on Thursday, because the way it works in civil court is the person who pays is typically the loser for all the lawyer costs. You'll recall that another gentleman who was involved in this was ultimately, I don't know if the legal word is exonerated, James
Yes.
Lawrence, but was not found liable. Conor was for certain parts of it. So they're going to figure out who has to pay the lawyer costs, because he did lose, but she didn't win everything. So that will be happening on Thursday. But that's different than the appeal. This is still just related to this particular dimension of it.
What do you think about the people that say Conor should be wary, even though there is some inconsistencies in this whole way this was handled in court, or a gray area at least? You know, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect defense,
Yeah.
or in that regard. What do you think about people ultimately who think that Conor could end up trapping himself and bringing more eyes on his behavior by taking an appeal trial and really digging this back up and really fine-tooth combing, aggressively going after it?
I don't know. I don't know what evidence he is referring to that would be exonerating. You'll recall that, to your point, the judge did not allow the jury to know about the guys in balaclavas who were identified as McGregor supporters. It just wasn't clear that in any way McGregor was related to the
Sure.
incident. But nevertheless, it was an act of intimidation. Whoever decided to do it, it was an act of intimidation.
But the more time
They
you're
didn't
in,
know about it. They will know about it in the appeal case. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
but just in theory, like the more time you're in court, the more you're exposing eyes to the story, which is a greater chance it could become a criminal trial, right?
And my understanding is the lawyer who Conor McGregor hired is a famous criminal defense attorney in Ireland who understands this whole system quite well and
Yeah.
probably best practices. But dude, Conor is erratic. He makes bad decisions. He ended up in this particular moment because he makes questionable decisions, and probably, in my judgment, I cards on the table. I find the jury's decision. Just ask yourself this: the jury, were they right based on a preponderance of the evidence? Is it more likely than not that he did those things? I agree with their assessment that
Sure.
he more likely than not he absolutely did those things. So, he has judgment issues at a bare minimum,
Oh my
and that's the
God.
nicest way I can
Maybe
put that.
D does too, and I'm speaking out of school here, but maybe D Devlin does too. I mean, what the hell?
I don't want to speak about their marriage or their relationship. I don't know what they have going on. All I can say is I really encourage everybody, especially young guys, to actually listen to what the facts of the case are. You will, of course, come to your own conclusion. I can't control that, but don't do it until you understand what all the evidence is one way or the other.
Well, here's what McGregor is going to face on the regular. Here's him exiting the courtroom, and the paparazzi were aggressive.
Mr. McGregor, you're a rapist. What do you think?
Wow. There, I don't know if you saw the full clip of that. Like, he gets bombarded into the car.
Dude,
like,
they were on his ass like white on rice.
Well, he also went on a tear on Twitter and deleted a lot of the tweets. Here's a little sampling where it's basically not, him doubling down on his innocence, continuing to take shots at Nikita Hand, clearing that friend of his. And I think, if you read in totality his stuff, he really believes that the truth will come through and he'll be cleared of this eventually.
I don't think that's right. I don't think it will.
Did you see the that same Twitter account which updates us when the UFC roster has been updated?
Yeah, he went full incel, huh?
Yeah, he did. They updated Conor as innocent. That's interesting. Let's give Nikita Hand a chance to speak. This was her afterwards, which I think is important to add to the story.
So much strength and courage over the last 6 years throughout this nightmare to keep on pushing forward for justice. I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself. Something happens to you, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served. To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up and have a voice and keep on fighting for justice. I know this has impacted not only my life, my daughters, my family and friends tremendously. I'll never forget for the rest of my life, but now that justice has been served, I can now try and move on and look forward to the future with my family and friends and daughter.
Nikita, what is it last 2 weeks been like? What is it like family to be believed?
So good. Thanks so much.
Heavy stuff there. I mean, she took a big chance. She was going to have to pay all the legal fees if she
had
lost.
She would have, and by the way, you're asking what would those costs be if she had lost? In excess of $1 million.
Wow.
Which she wouldn't have had. I want to be clear about something. Like, again, I encourage everyone to hear what McGregor's defense was to some of the inconsistencies that related to Nikita Hand's story, because there is a recording that her boyfriend made that night, and some of the stories don't match other accounts, and those things need to be understood. And
she's also cheating on her significant other at the time.
Dude, infidelity is in either direction here utterly irrelevant.
Of course, from a law standpoint, I'm saying that's adding to the fuel.
That's the only one I care
No,
about.
I'm saying that's adding to the fuel of people that are looking at some of the inconsistencies and saying, "Look, she's just a partier that was chasing money." What about his infidelity? Oh, I'm not excusing.
Like they're both
I'm not
doing it.
protecting or siding with him. I'm saying I think that played into a lot of people.
Yeah, but to me, it's immaterial. So, like, I want to mention this before we move on because I actually think it's pretty important. I was not in that courtroom, so like, can I say Conor did it? I have no clue. I don't know. I answered the question a minute ago about, like, do I agree with the jury? More likely than not, granting that this sexual assault took place, I do. And the reason why is I would say a few data points very quickly, if I may. One is that in talking to Frank Graney, they saw all the photos of the bruising after she went to the rape trauma center in a hospital in Dublin.
Right.
And he described the photos as, quote, horrific, black and blue head to toe. And in fact, the intake nurse who evaluated her, who testified on the stand, had said in all of her years in rape crisis work, had never seen somebody as bruised and banged up viciously as she was. She had literally never seen the extent of bruising and damage that Nikita Hand came with. You then marry that with the reality that the doctor who also testified about this had to remove a tampon from inside of her. I'm going to put that as lightly as I possibly can. With forceps. Somebody roughed her up.
Yes.
And when you look at the McGregor defense account, their answer is, well, she went on a multi-day bender. It must have just been from that, which, of course, Occam's razor tells you is a very, very poor explanation for how someone gets to that level. Somebody really messed her up. Like, you have to have a theory for how that happened. The likeliest, again, the preponderance of the evidence tells you that it was probably that interaction she had with McGregor. That's how I feel.
I could see that swaying the jury.
Let me say one more
in comparison to the inconsistencies. I can certainly see that.
At every single level, whether it was the doctors who evaluated her, the nurse at the rape crisis intake center, whether it was a psychiatrist or psychologist, all of which whom testified on the stand, at every single interval of a medical screening by a professional, all of them concluded that her either injuries, mental or physical, were all in alignment with what happens to sexual assault survivors. Right. All of them. You never had one person on the forensic side say anything other than Nikita's Hand account is in all likelihood the correct one. Last, I would add the one you mentioned. If she had lost that trial, she would have been on the hook for on the hook for up to $1 million to go through with that for 6 years when it could financially ruin you in the end. Again, we weren't there that night in December in 2019. Do I know what happened? I don't know what happened. But a preponderance of the evidence quite obviously tells me it is more likely than not that he did that shit.
Right. And Conor is leaning on, you know, some of the inconsistencies with the timing or in the text messages to her significant other, which she lied about being there, but she was already sort of there lying to begin with. So it's you know, I understand both sides of it.
Who did that to her? Where did the bruises come from? They came from partying? No, they did not. That is obviously silly.
Well, the general reaction from fighters has been that Khabib was right, Luke. That's what everyone keeps saying. Here's Islam Makhachev from Team Khabib saying it was a matter of time till this filthy bastard be exposed, alcoholic, drug junkie, and rapist. Many more facts to come out.
We have to ask the question that we always have to ask. Did Islam write this or did Ali write this?
Wow, Ali just got caught, right? Speaking for Umar over
yeah. By the way, Ali admits to doing this. Not like I don't know if he did this one.
It's worth pointing out there. Was that him? Well, let's throw back to the original Khabib tweet from 2019. Wow. Yeah, so this was when the accusations first came out back in 2019 of this exact incident, and this was Khabib.
I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong about this. So forgive me if I am, BC. This might predate them. I think this might.
You think it was from the build to their fight in 2018?
Long Island Luke, can you look this up? I thought that this came from because remember the incident in question was in December.
Sure.
This tweet is from 2019. I thought it came from April, which was a different situation that he had already been dealing with.
I mean, look, he's tied to a lot of situations.
But I don't know. I could be wrong about that. Please forgive me if I get that wrong.
Yeah. So interesting. I guess the final question regarding his future, like, do you think because Dana White and UFC have a history of not penalizing people for their outside the cage behavior, like Conor benefited from that rule, if you will, by getting the Khabib fight despite getting arrested back in 29 or what was that? What year was that?
The tweet was April 2019.
Told you. That predated him even doing this.
No, he did it at the end of 2018 after the fight. With,
you're right. I'm so sorry. Yes. 2019 was when it came to a head. That's right. You're right.
No problem.
You're right.
How willing will the UFC be to get him back in there? Because they're not going to like damn him publicly or suspend him or fine him. They'll probably just say, like you said, the justice will, he'll pay his fine, whatever. And they won't, they don't make it about that. They make it about what happens inside the cage. So
I think they booked. Remember when Dana told us last week, hey, he'll come back late 2025?
They just sort of booked a faraway date and said, get in shape for that. Like, let's go.
And also, like, we're going to let the dust settle on this.
Right, because they knew this was possible. They
probably knew something bad. At a bare minimum, they had to know something bad could at least happen.
Okay.
Right?
Like, this won't affect Conor's BKFC job in your eyes, right?
Again, if you're a BKFC fan,
if you're a bare knuckle fighting fan,
how much do you really care? How much do the ethical behavior of people around you matter to you? I'm going to guess it's going to be, relatively speaking, somewhat limited.
All right. Well, we have a transition here with business ethics to topic number 4 if you're complete.
Let's do it.
And it's what's going on over there at Bellator, particularly the Bellator side and the frustration of many big name fighters, some of the best in Bellator history, about their inactivity and even further, the lack of communication. So Bellator fighters speaking out in unison against PFL's handling of this calendar year when many were promised up to 3 fights and only fought once. We heard how Chris Cyborg was outspoken against the PFL for a full year trying to get active and finally getting a fight. So, Luke, let's start this. What incentive do you think, if anything, these current Bellator fighters have in trying to stay with the PFL and not trying to get out under any circumstances possible? Because they're already, even though they're some of the best names on the combined PFL roster, they're being out there, held out in Siberia on these Bellator International cards. And even worse than that, they're not even being allowed to stay active, and they're not getting any updates. There's no dates on the calendar. Like, as quick as they can just go, what reason should they have to not do that at this point?
That the contracts have probably trapped them, and they can't. People think that because UFC has bad contracts, PFL has good ones. Francis probably has a good contract. I believe that Francis does.
Can we just pull an RDR and just go fight in another promotion anyway and then sign with him?
Not if you're US based, you can't. No, you'll be in deep trouble. You could lose your license to compete.
No, I get it. Believe me.
You know the story.
Sure.
But PFL has very restrictive contracts. One has very restrictive contracts. You cannot just get out of your contract so simply. This is a big problem for them. Do we have some of
can we throw some of these?
Throw some of these up on the screen so the audience can have some context if they didn't get it before. This is from
Patricio
Pitbull, who, by the way, is reacting to Leandro Ego also explaining frustration. Quote, I haven't fought since February, Pitbull says. I wanted to fight 3 times this year, but I was told I'd have to wait until December 31st and found out online my opponent would fight someone else. Then they had a replacement. I bring people over, spend more money with the camp, and there's no fight. He went on for other details. So his ego, it was patchy mix. I've been training my ass off for the last half of a year for nothing. This is frustrating in the prime of my career, and I've had my fight in November canceled. Then now again, I'm being told I'm off January's Dubai card. I'm the best in the world, and I want to fight to prove it. And again, Corey, Overtime Anderson.
Yeah, that's a rough picture that was posted, but he was posting it to show his dismay.
Yeah.
He would go on to update that tweet, by the way. He had the same thing about just, the hey, PFL, give me a call. Let's have communication. So all the fighters and more have spoken out since then, but they all seem to have that same argument. It's not just the lack of dates. It's there's no one to even talk to or give me answers.
Right.
When some of them, like Corey, came to this side of the fence to get a better situation and to make more money and to be treated better. But that's gone now. This ain't Scott Coker land anymore.
So 2 basic problems that I think are to blame here. There's more to the story, certainly. There's more than just 2 problems, but I'd like to highlight 2 of them. Number 1, this confused branding that they're doing where they're splintering PFL MENA, PFL Europe, PFL Super Fight Series, PFL Tournament System, PFL whatever the fuck.
And a fake belt for each one, dude.
And they're fake belt. And then there's the Bellator series, which is on top of that. You have all of these different brands that you're trying to make money off of, right? That's why they're splintering it. But the problem is actually a little bit more sinister. While you might be able to monetize more by splitting it more, none of your brands have coherent identities to begin with. And you're actually having to create things because your tournament model doesn't really work. So you're having to, we'll have a super fight series because that's actually how we can get the most amount of dollars with the biggest stars that don't work in the tournament system. So you're actually having to split your brand in ways to make more money, but all it actually does is undercut what the brand is supposed to be about.
They have a final on Friday. We didn't even know about it. You and I were in this space. And even though there are a couple matchups you would want, it's not representative of who they actually have as a roster. When Don Davis makes all those public claims that we have X amount of percentage of the top 30 fighters in the world in each division, he loves to throw that stuff out. And I don't hate it because on paper they do have assets, but they're taking these Bellator assets and just leaving them out in the bullpen or throwing them to the side of the road or putting them on some random international card. These are actually some of your best and most marketable fighters. Why would Patricio Pitbull have to struggle to find dates?
These are champions.
Why don't you put this, obviously the thing to do is stop what they're doing, combine all of their essence in one, stop building horizontally, and let's go vertically. Let's give your best chance to compete. Because you, Don Davis, said that we're here to compete for number 1 in the UFC. I didn't say that. You said it. This ain't working, okay? These are actually some of your best assets, and what else would they want to do outside of, let me get out of this contract as soon as I possibly can?
Yes,
now.
and dude, the second problem here is, we go back to it, it manifests itself in a number of different ways, but when the leadership of your fight promotion aren't really fight fans, and they don't really watch the sport absent of their own product, and even then, I don't know how much they're really watching that, you are not going to have a coherent identity as a brand. You're not going to really fill the appropriate space in the fight game because you're just a financial instrument to be sold to a network or potential investors. Your product will be arranged to match their interests, not necessarily the fans, or more generally what the market itself actually needs. You're just splintering it, as I mentioned before, to get more money, but it ends up just hurting the identity of the brand and everything else. These are the 2 big problems that this organization has. And unless they're willing to meaningfully alter who they are, this will only get worse.
I mean, imagine if Friday's championship, in which, 6 different championships and $1 million prizes are given out. It's not nothing. It's something. Imagine how much more we'd watched if Pitbull, Patchy Mix, Aaron Pico, AJ McKee, all these other names were in there. You know what I mean? Like Umar Nurmagomedov. That would help you a lot.
How about this?
So drop that tournament regular season bullshit. Put out 1 title per division, not what we're doing now with super card titles or whatever the hell that means, and put your best out there and let them show you if they can compete.
Also, how about this? Here's a simple idea. And it would confuse the brand because that's what they love doing, but it would make sense. If you're going to keep this stupid-ass tournament model up and the way that they do it, again, you could do individual tournaments, but just doing all tournaments all the time. Put Patchy Mix versus Magomedov at the top of one of these cards. Put Leandro Ego versus Aaron Pico at the top of one of these cards. In other words, have your tournament, but then put a crown jewel at the top of it. Keep those guys busy. I don't want to tune into your tournament. Give me a reason to tune in. Oh, you've got Aaron Pico? on a Thursday night in fucking Atlanta or whoever, but he's fighting like a good guy, I'm all in favor of that. But instead, they just keep them on ice because why? They want to splinter the brand. And now Patchy Mix can only fight on Bellator cards. And Leandro
but you're
can
fighting for
only fight on
Bellator titles
Bellator
that don't matter.
Again, it's the splintering of the brands, which they think is going to give them more money. And all it does is pull the bottom out on the concept and identity of what they're supposed to be about.
Well, when Don Davis goes home, though, Luke, he doesn't talk about MMA or watch it. And maybe that's the problem, all right, Don? Here's a tweet from Caposa I'll read to you. He nailed it. He said, PFL's Bellator plans this year were a complete failure. They promised 8 events in 24 and only pulled off 5. They touted 2 title fights per Bellator card, and that didn't happen on 4 out of 5 Bellator cards. Canceled multiple events with 0 explanation. Moved title bouts to different cards. What happened? ? Luke, what happened was they never planned on doing anything with Bellator, right? And they're just trying to milk the money off of whatever pre-existing TV deal they had, and they wanted to keep this alive.
Yeah.
Or they also overvalue the actual names on their actual PFL regular season roster and thinking that this is a draw. It's not. You get some good stories once in a while or former UFC names on the way down, but damn, the biggest
Let me
piece
say
of...
this. I want to see Bellator champions compete. I don't give a shit if it's in a Bellator brand or some other place. Put those fucking guys in super fights at the top of your cards. Simplify your brand. Simplify your product. Look at me. Put the camera on me. You already did.
Oh, boy.
Look at me. Nobody gives a flying fuck about the Champions League of MMA. It's a stupid concept. Fans don't want it. Stakeholders don't want it. Fighters don't give a shit. Give us as many good fights as you possibly can on a routine basis, and you will go a lot further than the Champions League of fucking MMA.
Let's go to Duke Rufus. He's the coach, of course, of Sergio Pettis, elite Bellator fighter. He kind of nailed the standpoint of why this is so frustrating.
Hey, checking in from Ottawa, Canada, up here teaching some seminars, some great people. That being said, I got to bring up the elephant in the room in the MMA world right now. What is going on with PFL and Bellator? As a former fighter, I have a different perspective than managers and or people who run it, because I understand, being a former fighter and these guys I train, that time is of the essence. You can always make more money. You can't make more time in life. And time is of the essence for these guys to create their goals, legacies, and obviously how they make a living. They don't get paid to train. They get paid to fight. Speaking of my man, Sergio Pettis has not fought for Bellator since November 17th of last year. He was given permission to fight for Rizin in June 3rd. That was not on his contract. And he was just offered a fight in Japan that we have heard through our Japanese contacts, but that was for Rizin. There's no date set in sight. This is very tough for these fighters. Communication would be great. Right now, the organizations are quiet, the managers are quiet, while the fighters are sitting back waiting for scraps. I don't think it's fair. Can someone spit out some answers here? The UFC already has all their dates planned through March. I'm a small-time MMA promoter. I've already got a April event in the books with a December, and I'm nobody. I'm just a small-time guy who puts on local shows to build young talent. We've got all of our tournament scheduled for everything we're doing. How can a major organization coming into the new year not have any dates on the books and, no answers for these fighters? Please, somebody, if you know, let me know.
He nailed it.
I can't add anything to that.
Is there any chance that they have heard the criticisms of PFL and they are planning to combine everything for next year? And the reason why they're so quiet to the people, the fighters that are looking for dates, is because they're going to get through this tournament final this Friday and be done with that.
I do have some
because that would make sense if that was the case, or they're just making no sense at all.
I talked to some folks, several folks. I hear that PFL definitely knows they need to do things differently. That, in fact, they're having internal conversations about changing what they do and how they do it. But, they could go from one bad decision to another. That doesn't mean they're going to necessarily make good decisions going forward. They seem to know, to answer your question, BC, they seem to know that what they've done to this point has not worked great and has caused a series of problems. I don't know if they're going to pick the right solutions. But, can I tell you that internally, There is definitely a movement inside PFL, including with like strong leadership, to do
right thing,
to do the product a different way. Yes, I have heard that from now several people internally, but it remains to be seen what path they take.
I've heard that the people have made some good pitches behind the scenes that could make a lot of sense, but they've got to say yes to it. So.
That's exactly correct.
You know what would help these really bad UFC fight nights?
Pornography.
Yeah, probably. But like, imagine these Apex cards we shat on, but then next week you get Patchy Mix, or you get Corey Anderson, or you get whoever. Like, I mean, let's keep these guys active, okay?
Yeah, if you can't keep, I mean, again, you could say, oh, well, Pitbull's old and expensive. We don't want to pay for him. First of all, let him go.
Yeah.
If that's how you feel.
Let him get a UFC run.
Second of all, Patchy is probably not expensive and not old. So what's the excuse for not keeping him active? Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. That's our topic for you. Let's go to number 5 and close right here. Hey, it's Thanksgiving. It's the best damn holiday. No presents. Everyone comes home.
Christmas.
Best meal of the year. You're tied to a high school football rivalry like Naugatuck versus Ansonia. It's still real to you, damn it. Okay. You know, the family football game in the backyard. I mean, it's just meat pie, the tourtière, if you're of the French Canadian design like myself.
I do love meat pie.
But Luke, it's also a chance to take stock of where we're at, to press pause on our hectic and ever anxiety-inducing life journeys, and give thanks for what we maybe don't shout out enough, Luke. So, you know, what do you got for me, Luke? You don't have to go deep. You don't have to go crazy. But, like, what the hell are you thankful for in 2024 here as we close in on this great holiday?
It's a tough one. It's been not my favorite year. 2024, not my favorite year.
I'll go with you on that. Yeah.
I've had some good years. I've had some bad years. I wouldn't put this in the good year pile.
Okay,
How about that?
okay.
Not my worst year.
Yep.
But a tough one, just the same.
I mean, that year you shit your pants. That was a rough year, Luke. Okay.
I didn't shit my pants. I stepped in my own shit.
Oh, well, that's close. You know,
which is pretty bad,
yeah.
also. Well, first and foremost, I mean this quite sincerely. I know that some people have been underwhelmed by what we were able to offer them in 2024, and for that I am sorry. But there have been also a ton of people who've stuck by us, and I think first and foremost, it would be awful of us to not stop and say, for the folks who stuck with us, and there's many, many of you, of course, I am so grateful. I am so grateful that there's a lot of people who still gave us a chance and are giving us a chance.
Who still want and feel like they need us in their lives in some form.
I think first and foremost, on a professional level, what I think of first is I think of all of those people. Because, by the way, I still run into them in the streets, and they always have a lot of good things to say. So for that reason, I'm extremely, extremely grateful. That's the first thing I'd say. Second of all, man, look, we were talking about this before the show, dude. I don't know if being a dad is the right call for everybody. And, you know, sometimes folks are like, I don't want to be a parent. And everyone accuses them of being selfish. Nah, it's not for everybody. You know what I mean? But it's definitely for me. It's definitely for me.
Yes.
My daughter is now learning to read and learning to think through problems and, like, is asking questions about the world and just has her own personality. And, dude, I cannot tell you the level of joy this brings me. I showed her because it was Halloween, I showed her the Thriller video, the dancing, where they do all the dances, and it blew her mind. And she's been practicing the Thriller dance. And to watch her work on this and then to ask questions and then just to assert her personhood has been some of the most rewarding feelings I've had maybe ever.
That's awesome.
It's fucking great. Like, being a dad, again, it's not for everybody. It's definitely for me.
Do you think, honest question, because I'm going through some of the same things, do you think the back and forth, up and down stress occupationally of this year of not always being, actually never being in control and never knowing what's coming around the corner has forced you to kind of enjoy even more what you have around you that is more valuable?
For me, it feels more that as her brain and, you know, it develops and she becomes more of a thinking person, you know, it's just a marvel to watch.
Yeah.
It's like incredible to see this. And again, dude, it's like, oh, she can't read certain words one week, and then the next week she's reading words even more advanced. Or at the playground, you know, she has calluses all over her hands from working on the monkey bars. Like, there's going to be people hearing this and thinking that this is like the worst audio they've ever heard. I'm telling you, for the right person, it's going to be the best. It's been fucking great. That has been like the thing that has been, and my wife obviously too has been amazing this year, but just being a dad has been great. I think last but not least, dude, I mean, you're horrendous. And
I have to pee really bad right now, too. I'm like, do I break up the speech?
No, I think you're horrendous. But in general, I would say, dude, I don't take what we have for granted at all. I am still glad that we're in business together. I think we still make a lot of sense being in business together. And dude, something could go wrong at any point.
Yeah.
And I think it's much better for me that we have this partnership than don't. And I am grateful for you, dude. I really am. I mean that quite sincerely.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean I don't want to fucking kick you in the balls half the time.
Well, I think I want to kick you twice as hard normally, but we survive these moments.
There's obviously many more things I'm grateful for, in general, but those stand out to me.
Thank you, Luke Thomas. That was very nice of you. I can echo the same thing because it's weird. It's like sometimes this show is like that awesome extra thing we do in our career portfolio, and then sometimes you go, wait, this is like the backbone of it all, you know what I mean? And at times this show has been that. So yeah, I echo you on saying thank you to you. I'm being happy that we can press pause and give thanks that we're still going, that we still got now we're a 2-day-a-week operation. I mean, it's not lost. I mean, we get to come to this beautiful studio in Manhattan and make a professional looking, I mean, we're not professional, but a professional looking show. And that because that audience has stayed with us and stayed loyal, and sometimes they're encouraging us to, keep going as much as we might be encouraging them with a word or two here and there. They've kept us afloat as much as we may have them, but we're almost like doing something new here. And at first I was disappointed in it because it's not the MK of old, the old structure, the bomb shelter, the RSD, this pregame preview, Chuck on the roof. Like we had something special there. But it doesn't mean we're not going to create something new and different. And I think we're on the way to that. I like what we've created with these Monday shows. I'm proud of them. I think we're on a good run of late. And I think we're making we're taking the best swing we can with what we're given. And obviously I'm thankful to Brian Daly for carrying us through a very, very rough patch. Our old boss at Showtime, who is doing great things with All the Smoke and All the Smoke Fight. And I'm thankful for Mikey, who is always has our back in this show's history and still to some degree has a role with us. And Long Island Luke kind of came a blast from the past, but he's blossomed, Luke, into a valuable player for us. Would you agree with that? I'm thankful for him is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'd wish he'd stop masturbating during the show, but other than that, he's pretty great.
You guys are really distracting me.
So yes, I echo all of that. I mean, look, the fans that we promised a lot. We thought we were getting a lot. A lot of things have happened. It's not just this calendar year. It's like the last one too. It's like 2 years truncated.
In a long run.
And, from how they support us on our solo efforts to how they support us when we get broadcasting opportunities to how they support us here and keeping the show going. Like it means a lot. Thank you, folks. Thank you. We love you. We do. Maybe this community is the greatest thing we've ever created together.
Definitely one of the very best. Absolutely, no question about it.
Because I see these same viewers and listeners that I've seen for years on your live chat show up for me, show up for Luke's Main Card Minute live streams, and like these are good folks. You know what I mean? Some of them end up playing roles like Average Joe with us. You know what I mean? And or shout out to everybody. Appy, you know what I mean? Shout out to Jay Paquette and Web Scream, and remember that guy Damien. What was that guy's name? The second donk of the year?
The guy who had the girl being hung.
Yeah, I mean, he had horrifically scary tattoos, but he was a nice guy, a single dad. Now, we haven't heard from him in like 4 or 5 years. He may be incarcerated.
I think he ate someone's face after eating bath salts.
Yeah, that's probably where it went. But yeah, thankful to my family. Obviously, they put through they go through a lot to keep this guy in front of a microphone. All right, it's life. It'll kick you right in the gut once in a while. But man, you talk about Tukes inspiring you. My 16-year-old twin sons, they're juniors in high school. These guys, I mean, that's my inspiration. You know what I mean? I watched my son Isaac, who has CP, and was running cross-country times that nobody was impressed with for a while, despite how hard he worked. And this year he made these huge goals, and he cut 9 minutes off his time.
Damn.
And before the championship race of the year, he was like, Coach, I'm going to, he threw out a time he wanted to get, which was like 4 minutes faster than he ever ran. And the coach was like, no, I don't think you should try that. Let's be realistic. And he came out and he crushed it. And he delivered the time, and he collapsed at the finish line. And I picked him up and I carried him back. And I was just like, I can't celebrate that in front of me and inspire me to get through the ups and downs of the hard instances in life. And my other son, Chris, turning his ankle in the championship meet and breaking like a little part of what connects your toe to your ankle, and still running all conference and finishing the final 2 miles hurt. And like, that's what I'm talking about.
That's
okay?
awesome, dude.
Those are the moments that I'm most thankful for. These guys are just out there, fighting. Because that's all we can do, Luke, okay? Let me Tony Robbins you. We could just pick up the fist and fight.
Fighting and
you know what I
farting.
mean? Fighting and farting. That's what it is.
Occasionally
So
fucking.
And obviously, I have the best wife in the world who puts up with me, so keeps me in line. So there we go. It's a great life if we stop once in a while and look around. And
we should ask Long Island Luke what's on the thankful radar.
Marijuana.
I'm gonna reiterate everything you guys said. Family, my girlfriend, all the donks out there who support Main Card Minute and MK, and yes, definitely marijuana as well.
There you go. Shout out to Alan W, another real one out there. We got a lot of good folks.
There's a
out
lot
there.
of them. There's a lot of them.
So, are you thankful for anything in combat sports, Luke?
That I have a job in it,
I mean, are you thankful for Uncle Turkey putting on these huge fights despite the
Uncle Turkey?
Yes, Sir Al Sheikh.
Oh,
his empress.
My brain.
Yes.
I'd rather the Saudis not be involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm still excited for Fury.
But
Usyk,
did
too.
he make fights happen that probably would not have happened? Yes, and so I'm
Yes.
thankful for that in that sense. Yes.
All right. Or maybe we're thankful for Dana White in some ways too. Maybe.
I'm grateful that we live in the something approximating the golden age of combat sports. I think that golden age has led to a little bit of less golden age, but in
Yes.
general, having been a fight fan when you didn't have access to fights hardly at all, there was no like YouTube or online catalog you could go just sift through, and you couldn't get it on your phone, and now everything is at the touch of your fingertips. Again, everyone already knows this, but having lived through different eras, I am very, very grateful for that. Yeah.
And I have to say one final thing I'm thankful for. This media business largely sucks. There's a lot of sharks in the water. It's
sucks,
cutthroat. It's whatever on both sides, boxing and MMA. Particularly in MMA, I got to shout out, there's a brother and sisterhood that seems to have be bubbling up lately. I feel like, there's some aggressive folks and people that start a lot of trouble, but there's a lot of people out there supporting each other. Those people have us on their shows a lot. You know what I mean? Whether it's Submission Radio, whether it's Mike Hack and Jed over MMA fighting, and from Mike Bone, who just got engaged. Shout out to Mike Bone. So congratulations on that. Oscar Willis. I mean, Alan Dawson. We can go up and down and name a lot of people that we love, but there does seem to be a good mood out there in this space of people trying to help each other out and lift each other up. So that's good. I like to see that. There's still some good out there, Luke. You're like, I hate everybody in this business.
No, I'm just I'm tired.
All right. Well, Luke, let's take it home with our final two segments. First and foremost, we give you the opportunity every Sunday night to reach out to us at Morning Kombat on social media, respond to our DMs from Donks questions, to hear from you, the fans. We're going to answer your questions right now. But if they're not good or you have a weird username, you're probably going to get roasted. Let's hear it. It's DMs from Donks.
BC, as emblematic, very quickly, if I may, about how this year has gone. Like how they put up the live clips during the show. There was a gigantic misspelling in the actual tweet. They wrote, 2024 hasn't be our best, but we are thankful for all you loyal donks out there. And I'm like, that's quite emblematic.
That
of
is.
2024.
That's very nice right there. First and foremost, let's hear from Ki Ting. And he says, she says, somebody's saying, maybe they said, is Yan, I think Petr Yan, a top 3 boxer?
Could be Xiaonan.
Oh, that's interesting. They both had great performances on Saturday. Let's start out with Petr Yan. Do you think he's a top 3 boxer inside the MMA space?
He's a fantastic striker, but pure boxer? No.
Not even Yan Xiaonan. Well, she's got a great right hand. I mean, that is the
She's
way
a
she
good
sets up her
striker
left
too,
hook
but
too,
also
yeah.
no. So the answer is no matter what.
You heard it right there. No.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Flannels in Jiznitz, in Jits. Flannels in Jits. He shows up on here a lot. This guy's always DMing us. Where do you see more crazy shit? Vegas or Newark Penn Station?
Get the fuck out of here. Newark train station.
It does trump Vegas. Yeah, it does.
I mean, get the fuck out of here. Newark train station. You get drunk people in Vegas. You don't get terminally crazy, high on meth people.
But would you say
every time you enter the fucking Venetian? No,
Penn
you don't.
Station, which has some bad moments, seems a lot safer than Newark
because it's emptier.
There's a lot of cops in Penn Station too.
Today?
Always.
Well, it's New York City. I mean,
yeah. So I'm saying it's a good thing.
Here,
it's a good thing.
Again, I saw a homeless man shaving his fucking balls.
Okay.
And pubic hairs.
I mean, Vegas, you can see a lot. You can see a lot.
How is this a conversation?
Luke, I gotta pee my pants. Take the next one.
All right, I'll do the next one. Go ahead. Let's put it up there. From Mike here in Sharon, 1995. Which division is most shallow? Heavyweight, light heavyweight, or women's bantamweight? Fuck me, man. Long Island Luke, what do you think?
Women's bantamweight by far.
Tell me why.
Because can you even name the top 5 of women's bantamweight right now?
No.
Yeah, and I can name 5 heavyweights and 5 light heavyweights. So
that could just mean you're a sexist piece of shit, though.
No. Women's bantamweight is I'm pretty sure like Chelsea Chandler is ranked in women's bantamweight, and she's like 1-4.
I have the rankings up. Let's pull up women's 135. Now that you mentioned it, por ejemplo. All right, women's 135. What we have is Juliana Peña's your champion. So number 1 would be Pennington, 2 Harrison, 3 Vieira, 4 Macy, and then tied is Norma Dumont, and then 6 because there's no 5 is Aldana. It's like, yeah, not great.
That's definitely the worst of the 3.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, light heavyweight is some shit. I mean, people don't want to say that. 205 sucks. Poaton's great.
Light heavyweight in the Jones era was always shit too. It always had like 3 guys and floating in the top.
That's so wrong.
No,
that's
I'm talking
so
like
wrong.
DC, Rumble. You could throw Gustafson in there and John. Those were always the interchangeable top 4.
Dude, he beat Shogun. He beat Rampage.
You're talking
he
too early.
Machida. That's his
You're talking
championship
his rise.
run. What kind of a conversation is this?
No, I'm saying the era when he was reigning had a very weak division up top. Not weak, but it had the top 4 guys just chilling up there. It was kind of like Joseph Benavidez at flyweight, you know?
I don't think that's quite right.
All right, well.
Why don't you suck
Let's go to the
balls?
next one.
Let's go to the next one. From Fergal Fitz. I'm going to guess this gentleman is Irish. With 2 Irish... Yeah, there you go. With 2 Irish fighters having 2 big fights announced recently, I'm Ian Gary versus Shavkat and Hughes versus Usman. Which of the 2 Irish fighters do you think has a better chance of winning? Now, that's a good call. Good question. I don't know what the odds are. I personally... I mean, it's a tough fight either way. It's a tough fight either way. What do we have, Long Island Luke?
I don't have them in front of me, but top of my head, last I looked, Shavkat was like -3 something, and Ian Gary was +2 something. I don't know about Hughes and Usman.
What's your read on who has a better... Ooh, what the fuck, dude?
PC just hit something. We're good.
You all right?
My read on which fight? I think Shavkat beats Ian Gary, and fuck, man, I'm favoring Usman against Paul Hughes.
Usman should beat Paul Hughes.
Yeah.
But I feel like Hughes might have a better shot.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
What do you think? Who's got a better shot as an Irish guy? Paul Hughes against Usman Nurmagomedov or Ian Gary against Shavkat Rakhmonov? Who's got a better shot?
Might be Paul Hughes, right?
I think it's Paul Hughes.
Yeah.
All right, is there last one? One more? From Sticks Plays Time. What's the worst thing a professional fighter has personally said to you? Well, the worst thing? Well, I don't even know what that means. What's the nicest thing a professional fighter has?
How would you not know what that means? What's the worst thing a fighter said to you? I mean, probably John Jones dunking on you in public. It was a dick move.
But I didn't feel like it was. I mean, it made the rounds, but it didn't hurt my feelings.
Right, but it was a total dick move from him.
Okay, but like, would the worst thing be something that had the? I mean, yeah, I guess the biggest impact would be the worst. But I'm just saying, like, what's the thing that made me feel differently?
Mike Perry told me he would kill me the next time.
Yeah, I mean, I've had them threaten me a couple times in private.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah. I've had a couple of those. Mm-hmm. They didn't do anything, but they've, you know.
How could they? You got body for days.
Body for days. The best thing is I've had pro fighters ask me to do tape study for them.
That's pretty awesome.
That's a pretty nice. I mean, it tells you they have a high opinion, you know. So.
Yeah. I mean, I've had nice moments with fighters when you're talking real life stuff, and they're like a friend in a moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't try to befriend fighters, but there's some good souls out there.
I think it's a bad idea to do that.
100%.
As media, anyway. But it's nice to have a couple of professional alliances.
Yes, but inevitably I'm going to say something critical because that's our job.
That's the job.
That's the job. All right, you know what my job is? Thank you to the DMs from Donks, by the way. Continue every Sunday night hitting us up there. We like hearing from you. And morningkombat@gmail.com is our email address to hit us up for the Friday segments, fan subs, and dead wrongs. But we're on to the best segment of the show. I don't know if this is the best batch ever, Luke, okay? I had a busy weekend. I've tried hard. Sometimes sometimes you have to be okay with a B cup, Luke, okay? We might have to get
They
there.
redid the tweet, by the way.
Oh, that was nice.
I made fun of them for on air.
I scoured the globe. You know the rest. Here's my shit. Enjoy it. Ooh, Luke Thomas. Mike Perry's Dirty Boxing had a soft launch, I guess,
something
over the
like
weekend.
That, yeah.
So it wasn't televised. They ended up putting the fights out after the fact. I don't know why.
Are they on YouTube somewhere?
Yeah, Ben the Bane Davis and Chris Algieri are the announced
This
team.
is an interesting combo.
Which is
I like
awesome.
both of those guys.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to Yoel Romero in the main event. He got a new opponent last minute. It turned out to be Dwayne Crespo of Power Slap fame.
Yeah.
And Crespo took
I gotta
it.
say, you want to talk about body for days? Look at Yoel Romero.
So he's 47. He called out Jake Paul afterwards. He feels he fits right into that, of who the type of guys Jake Paul fights. But do you want to see Jake Paul on paper against anybody who's 47?
I don't want to see Jake Paul against anybody who's not good enough. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck.
Although Yoel can box. I mean, okay. We thought Anderson might beat Jake. You don't think Yoel could beat Jake?
Same age as Anderson when Anderson fought Jake. No.
I think Anderson
I
was
will
2
say
years
this.
older.
What did you think of how that event looked? Can I tell you my opinion on it?
Yeah.
So here's my opinion on how it looked. Run the clip one more time. And it's obviously Yoel knocking the guy out, but like
you can punch on the ground too.
a little bit, right? There's some rules about that. Here's how my view of it is. Part of it is they were going for like an underground kind of old school aesthetic, which I actually feel like they kind of pulled off. I actually like the way it
Doesn't it
looks.
look like we're in the beginning of Rocky 1 when
little
Balboa
bit.
fought Spider Rico?
However, if I told you, does it look like they were in a basement somewhere in Florida? It also looks that way.
Yes.
So I actually feel like I can't quite tell if I like it or not. I think I do. I'm not sure.
It could be. I mean, you can lead with like elbows. You can, fight in the clinch.
I just meant how it looked.
No, I get that. I get
the
that.
atmosphere.
Ben Davis, who's getting paid to work there, but he came out and was aggressive on Twitter and saying that this, like, the fight fans will fall in love with the style of it because
it was like boutique fighting. You know what I mean? Small crowd, intimate venue, right there.
Well, let's look at this picture of Romero getting that punch. Wow, just putting it right through Crespo. They also had celebrity clientele.
Crespo means curl in Spanish.
Oh, interesting. Big Ben Rothwell among them, but they got Boney. I'm sorry, Johnny Meat was in the house and was doing the meat dance for everyone.
Right.
Is this through the Kawas? This is how this was facilitated?
I thought he broke up with the Kawas. When did he get back in good graces with them?
I don't know if that means he's representing them, but maybe it's just like they turned it
I had a
around.
long phone call with Mulkey after they split.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this means there's a
And
reunion.
I mean, I don't talk to Mulkey all that often, but
Remember when Mike Perry was training at Jackson Wink for a little bit, and him and John were kind of buddy-buddy? They might just be boys, and he invited them.
But dude, they were managed and they had a falling out, and it was like a public falling out. Like, when did they? And by the way, I haven't seen Mulkey. I've seen his brother Abraham, who I also know. I don't know. I don't know when that happened. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't talk to media that ever asks him these questions, so we never get answers to anything.
But
That's not true. Kevin Elliott would ask the question, but no one has. No one has.
Getting John Jones at your first event is not bad.
Again, they have the same management.
All right, let's see this highlight. This is Rob Perez needing to be pulled off his opponent. As you can see, you can do some ground fighting, maybe when they go
I don't
down.
quite know the rules, and again, they were kind of launching it. But I will say, it looks okay. Referee, what the fuck are we waiting on?
I like that he waves it off first before removing the opponent.
Okay, all right.
Is that Cam Newton?
I mean, you got a guy wearing a fucking
I love it. I love
like
it.
the worst hat ever.
I love it.
Jumping in the ring.
All right. Well, Luke, sometimes there's a reality with spicy food that you got to know your limits, right?
I fucking love spicy food.
Yeah, bro, I can handle my spicy food.
A few minutes later.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
That never happens to me.
Oh, yeah, right.
I have never
You've
had...
never shit flames before?
I have never had shit flames or burning in the butthole from eating spicy food. It has literally never happened.
I want to chime in here to say
Chime in on burning in the butthole, please.
I eat a lot of spicy food. Also, never felt that. I did enter a hot wing eating contest once, and now I know what everyone's talking about.
Explain yourself.
Pretty much the video we just watched.
It's never happened to me.
Was it like uncontrollable? Like it took over your life for a day?
Yeah, dude, it was bad. Like I literally was sitting there being like, "This is what everyone talks about."
Okay, so yeah, you got to know your limits, Luke.
Apparently.
All right, let's keep it going. Did you see this violence in pickleball?
Fuck yeah!
Now we're gonna do a longer replay here to set it up. This is the final point.
You just kicked him in the face?
Yes, he did.
Dude, pickleball rules.
Jay Aaron, I think, plays it semi-pro.
Oh, they knocked the racket out of his hand.
I think it was by accident.
Oh,
wow,
man.
Jeepers, creepers.
Bro, it gets real deal Holyfield up on that motherfucker.
I guess it does. Let's go to MMA homecomings. You know I pop when people go back to their home surroundings with the title. How about Umar Khan, a.k.a. Rug, showing up in Dakar? Luke, have you ever been to Dakar?
I have not.
That is in what, in the Senegal?
Senegal.
Look at this reception for your new one heavyweight champion.
Good for him, man.
I love this guy, yeah.
Again, I don't know him personally. Maybe he's got the world's worst views, but as a sympathetic character from afar, You certainly got to feel good for him.
Look at, dude, this is a celebration. There's fire.
Yeah. Have you ever been greeted anywhere where people were setting things on fire on purpose as like a good thing?
No, usually when they want you out of town. Yeah, that's
exactly.
usually, all right. You know who else had a weird sort of second or third homecoming? How about Powhatan? Alex Pereira went to South Korea. You may have seen a lot of the content that came out of it.
Dude.
Here's him entering the airport doing the Powhatan dance.
Yeah, I mean, like a fucking hero returning home.
Dude, everywhere he goes, he's just
good for him. He earned it.
So
what are you gonna say? He didn't earn it?
No, of course he earned it, but maybe we need to realize he's a lot bigger of a global star than we even like.
He's definitely a big star, and he earned it. I mean, this is the thing. We can have a debate about Fighter of the Year, and it's fine. People can pick who they want. But I will say this. There's no question Powhatan saving the brand as many times as he did this year is something Ilya obviously did not come close to doing. You got to give him respect, and all those short notice fights, and he took them banged up. Dude, good for him that people are responding this way. Good for him.
Back to Conor McGregor quickly. This was his response to Jake Paul's attempt to dunk on him.
I know. What a fucking, I mean,
he also put a Pritchard Cologne response. You know, the fighter that was paralyzed.
It's like you just got held liable for rape, and then the first thing you do is take to social media to lob homophobic insults at a perceived rival. Like, you're fucking warped.
You know what we need from that tweet? A palate cleanse, something wholesome. Are you ready?
All right, let's see it.
Luke, the Costco-verse invaded AEW.
Is this the white supremacist thing?
Gear. So this was like the featured prelim match before the pay-per-view. That's Big AJ in the corner. Big Justice with the spear.
That's his name, Big Justice?
Yes. Did you hear that crowd? Okay, listen to the crowd pop on the pin.
Big Justice got a big belly.
This is like 1980s territory.
That's his dad?
Yes, that's Big AJ. Listen to this pop.
Boom! 1, 2, 3!
Oh, he won!
So this was in, I think, Newark, New Jersey. Correct me if I'm wrong. And, dude, he got a babyface pop like that was like Greensboro, North Carolina, Dusty Rhodes, 1984, Ric Flair. Like, that's crazy.
I literally just became a member of Costco in like the last 2 months.
Oh, did you get the chicken bake?
I didn't. No, I haven't done that yet. I didn't know that they don't hand out bags when you buy shit.
Oh, yeah.
You got to bring your own fucking bags or whatever.
I mean, people are starting to do that everywhere, but yeah.
I didn't like that.
That Aldi's does that. You also have to rent. You have to rent the cart at Aldi's.
Oh,
you
with like a nickel or whatever. Yeah,
it's weird. Big AJ, by the way, who's 48 years old. I know there's a lot of criticism of AJ Bufumo.
He's certainly exploiting his children's youth for a failed career in celebrity.
He put the kids, they're in like a special school, like with one-on-one teachers, because they got too out of control in their regular life. You know what I mean?
I'm sure it's healthy for them.
The principals actually
They
asked
definitely
them,
won't grow up doing drugs.
Okay, well, here's AJ at 48 against QT Marshall doing a superplex. Look at the double chunk chocolate cookies on the
I don't
pad.
know what the superplex. Oh,
that,
off
dude,
the top rope
that's
or whatever?
not nothing, by the way. Like, you know, that's crazy.
So why did his career fail as a
I think he
wrestler?
just was like a regional guy. He claims it was the road schedule. He knew it wasn't for him, but it also could be maybe it wasn't good enough. Obviously, he overachieved in this match. Like, he did well.
People liked it.
Yes. It was old school style. He did well. But the Rizzler was the guest timekeeper, and he got introduced.
The other fat kid?
Yeah, he got introduced by Paul White here, a.k.a. the Big Show.
Special guest timekeeper, standing at 3 feet and 11.5 inches tall. He is the master of the Riz face. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rizzler!
He only has one move, which
My
is
man's
that.
got 75 chins. Look at the size of.
Making his AEW debut, special guest timekeeper.
It looks like Hezbollah at a normal kid.
It does. Dude, they're over. The Costco verse is over in pro wrestling.
That's what I mean.
That means the crowd loves him.
Does it matter?
There were some cringe moments in that match, but they pulled it off. All right, there you go. Let's cleanse our palate
fat kid, by the
again with the skateboard accident. Luke, you sent me this.
Do we have no audio?
Apparently, I think there was commercial music. That's why we couldn't.
Look at the homie at the top of the hill there, just laying there fucking dead as
What
shit.
What is this? Nadir was saying it's in California.
Yeah, it looks like some California like waterway tributary thing. And there's look at homie there just laying there the whole time, bro.
Yeah. Shout out.
Without it doesn't. Oh, you know what? We didn't lose any Rhodes scholars there. I'm certain of that.
I'm sure we did.
Hey, I keep writing a fucking. My brain's not working. Oh, the joke doesn't work. Skateboard.
There you go. That's
without a helmet. on concrete. Keep doing that, guys.
Okay. Is it better than the people that chase the cheese down the hill in Europe and then they like fall
That's at
and get
least
concussions?
I mean, that's also bad, but that's at least like on like soil. It's not on like fucking concrete.
They're probably drunk as shit before they do that too.
I mean,
That's
how would you do that?
the equivalent of running with the bulls, right? Probably.
That's a good question.
Although you can get gored like to death.
You can get gored like a motherfucker with those damn Lona.
Hey, did you see this amateur boxing post-fight skirmish that happened? Watch the kid in the green here.
Tries to go for the hug. Gets pushed. What happened? Oh shit!
The opposing coach told him to get out of the ring.
Bro, this motherfucker's got a little spark to him.
Yeah, he does. That guy will be incarcerated very shortly. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He'll be doing meth soon.
Let's check in on the NFL, Luke, where crazy things happen. Watch this Rams fan on the left wearing the 99 jersey attempt to take out this entire row with one backhanded swipe as the ladies take for cover. Some guys just want to fight the world at one time.
I have not seen this. Let me see.
Okay, what we're going to be looking for is...
Now, most of the time, these fights take place in like the shitty seats. Oh, someone threw something at him?
Oh, man, he caught 5 guys with that slap.
5 guys. What does the 5-finger say to the face?
He catches the burger and fries in the 3-piece coming up.
Bro, they're going after him.
He's fighting well now, but once it gets 5-on-1,
yeah, they just start pounding.
Oh, wow. I mean, they're hitting him in the gut. They're just hitting him.
Yeah. I mean, this was unwise. Also, why would you ever go to an NFL game?
Yeah.
Someone explain
Parents,
to me.
if you're out there, why would you
ever fucking go? Dude, I don't care what anybody says. NFL hardcore fans.
Yes.
The only thing that separates them from prisoners is the prison itself.
I know we like to point out Philadelphia as being maybe the roughest. I mean, New York Giants fans are rough, but I don't think it compares to California.
Philly is mean. I don't know exactly if they're as bad as like LA.
I feel like I know Raiders aren't in California anymore, but it feels
Raider
like the
Nation
last
for
few
sure.
years,
Yeah.
Raiders, Chargers, Rams, like any of those will just like
also Dodgers too. Speaking of LA, like yeah,
you know what?
Dirtbags.
People in Southern California are ready to throw it on at any point.
Dirtbags.
Here's your NFL jerseys of the week, by the way.
Gay orgy. Gay orgy.
All right, Luke, I got a new segment idea for you. It's called How Hard Is This? And it has to do with things you love.
How hard is it for you to pronounce that?
Luke, rate this 1 to 10. How hard is this move? 10 being the hardest.
It's a clean. Zombie clean. Gonna chug a beer in a fucking Jesus at the bottom of the fucking. That's pretty awesome.
7 out of 10 hardness?
I give that a 7 or 8. That's
okay.
Pretty good.
You almost a hard 8. Let's go to this one, Luke. Tell me how hard this is to do.
Oh, what the fuck are you doing? This requires you to be mentally deficient in order to even attempt it.
Oh my God. It looks like the Iron Sheik when he does those clubs and he like bounces
Dude, that
them.
could have gone so fucking bad. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to your base brawl of the week. They get after it in baseball. Watch this guy.
Oh, this motherfucker threatened with the bat.
They hit him with the bat.
Oh, shit. Oh, he threw the glove at him like a bitch.
Well, it's the only weapon he had.
He's got fists. Oh,
Damn.
was this minor league? It has to be minor league,
I think
right?
so, or college, or no, probably minor league. Yeah,
I mean, these motherfuckers are getting paid like peanuts and cigarette
yeah.
butts.
Let's head over to the bar, Luke, where white women usually take falls. Let's see what's going on
That never
here.
happens.
Oh, there's a white man.
Yeah, get down. Get down, you fucking prick.
Let's keep the fun
Get
going.
your fucking feet off the bar, asshole. When the night out takes a turn. Yeah, why don't you crowd surf, you fucking overweight bovine?
All right, we got one more for you. This is great. Wait.
Yeah, hey, get down, Sarah.
Oh,
yeah,
there you
enjoy
go.
that one, Jessica. You fucking paralyzed bitch.
Wow, I can't believe I laughed that hard. Wow, okay, let's go to this restaurant. You never know what's above you, Luke. Got to be careful. Watch this.
Just having a couple of casual beers.
Oh, there you go, mate.
What the fuck?
Oh
is that?
my God, is that a
Some going for it.
wombat? What is that?
You know, if this was Texas, they would have just shot
Yeah,
it.
and then ate it right there off the grill. Wow. Okay. Be careful in parking lots. That's what I always tell my kids. You know?
Are you kidding me?
What the fuck? Yeah, enjoy that.
God.
Enjoy that, you dumb piece of shit.
Okay, Luke, who's your least favorite person in Have You Seen This Shit that's a recurring guest? Is it the Asian guy that does
No,
the
that
weird
dumb bitch who eats the cake? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get this monster. Put her in prison and throw away the key.
Are you like kind of turned on by this or what?
No, I want her to die. Her death would be. You asked what I was grateful for? Her death.
All right. Would you ever wondered about Adrian Broner and the possibility that he ate ass? Or you don't think about something?
I don't hold that against him.
All right, well, let's hear from him.
That's your question we always ask. You eat ass, AB?
I have before.
Oh, okay.
I have before.
Fresh out the club or fresh out the tub?
Sometimes I don't know. you know, I get lit. I like to drink, bro.
He said, I don't know.
I'm an honest nigga. But I ain't ate no ass lately.
Okay, all
BC,
right.
have you eaten ass recently?
No, I have not. That is wild talk. All right, we're going to close with all Creed all the time. What's your favorite Creed song first?
None of them.
I mean, you do have to admit, though, that the first album holds up. I mean, it does.
You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan dying in a helicopter accident. We got to get Creed into some more helicopters. I mean,
all right. Well, let's go to The Price is Right.
Yeah, I'd like to say hi to Scott Sapp from the band Creed. Thank you for taking me higher. And hi, Mom.
That's pretty solid, right?
I hope he fucking dies.
All right, we got one more Creed joke for you.
Hold me now. I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm shitting.
Okay. All right. That was good.
That's all the shit I got this week.
Batch.
Okay, and sometimes it overachieves.
Watching those white ladies and white guys, by the way, tumble brings me joy. Go get paralyzed, you dumb bitch. I love that.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week, folks. And don't forget that Friday we will be airing, this Friday, Black Friday, we'll be airing a episode of Morning Kombat, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be a mailbag.
morningkombat@gmail.com, morningkombat@gmail.com.
Send in your questions now. We're going to record it on Wednesday. We're going to answer your questions on Friday. So when you are done wrestling in the Best Buy line, trying to pick up that doorbuster, you can check out us. Then you can check out the PFL. So that's all we got for you this week. You can follow us on social. Please like and subscribe the video. If you've been watching some MK and you think you want to take the plunge, just subscribe. That's all you got to do, okay? It keeps the chains moving for us. Thank you so much. Follow our YouTube channels. Check out our friend Luke Nocita's Main Card Minute podcast. Luke, Long Island, where are you going for Thanksgiving here? What's happening?
We're doing the double dip. We'll go to my sister's for the first half of the day and then go to my girlfriend's aunt's house later on.
Okay. Will you be able to smoke paraphernalia inside any of these houses?
Not inside, but they all know that I'll be smelling as I walk in the door.
Wow. So he's established that. He's just straight up established that.
I'm going to be high as shit. There's going to be many adults who can watch my daughter. I will not be one of them.
Okay. Hello, we're made again.
We're going to take the train down. As I mentioned, we're going to take the train down. So I'm looking forward to that.
Is going to love that. We hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you so much for what you do for us. We'll continue to do our best every Monday and Friday for you, to our sensational team, here at Meadowlark. Thank you so much. Take care. That's Luke Thomas. I'm your boy, BC. Peace in the Middle East.